Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ohio State Esports broadcast. We are here with the Virtuous Triumph Series Week 6. My name is Matthew. This is my friend Mason. Mason, how are you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. I'm excited for some League of Legends. This is a pretty exciting match this week, Week 6 of Victoris Triumph Series. Both of these teams are 3-1, so they're looking to sort of secure second place, both losing to the same teams currently holding first place, Clover Esports, I believe. So they're looking to sort of duke it out for that second position. I think we're going to be hopping into draft pretty soon, but until we do so, are you excited for anything specific? Any picks you're looking out for?
Well, I think we have BioGamer back on the roster tonight, so I wanted to see his hack room. I don't think he has died yet on this pick this season, so it'd be cool to see him, whip that out and hopefully take home a game win in that one.
Yeah, there's actually, and we are going to hop into the draft. Yeah, Hackerum's been a giant pick for basically all of the junglers at Ohio State. I think that's basically comfort picks for all of them. I know BioGamer has been a Hackerum one trick for a few seasons. Yep. Hopping into draft, we see a Zoe ban, which I think is interesting. I haven't looked exactly at all the champion pools for Virtue Gaming, but Zoe's not exactly a giant priority pick in the meta right now, so must be a very powerful champion for the mid laner there.
Yep.
Graves, pretty standard top lane value pick, can be flexed into the jungle and the mid lane sometimes too. So, and we do see that Hecarim ban you're talking about.
Yep. No, the Zoe definitely feels like it's a possible targeted ban towards the Chapanya fan. But Lulu definitely something in the meta as well, so pretty smart ban for support and really a flex top nowadays. We'll also see the Gwen banned out here from the side of Ohio State. That's another flex pick actually with the jungle and top. So nailing down a few flex picks that are pretty popular in the meta in this.
Yeah, and that's sort of what the meta is about right now. Just these champions that are very powerful top lane, jungle, and some other positions as well. Even things like the Zeri being rotated from AD carry, top lane, mid lane. It's all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So basically narrowing the draft to a point where when you see a champion, knowing where it's going to go is very helpful. So
exactly.
Makes sense. We see the Thresh band coming out. Flexitine, a very, very confident Thresh player. Self-identified Thresh 1 trick, actually. So see the Zeri first pick.
Yeah.
Now this is interesting. Basically the entire AD carry meta right now is whether you prefer Jinx or Zeri and trading those two champions.
Yep.
Personally, I'm on the Jinx side of the argument. I think B1 Jinx just wins games straight up. But with the most recent nerfs to Zeri as well, sort of pushing it further in that direction. But both of the AD carries very powerful, very capable to completely turn around team fights.
Yep, absolutely. And so we do see the Jinx in response to the Zeri on the red side. And we also see the Bard, which is kind of an unusual pick recently as well. That'll be answered with the Nautilus. So we do have both bot lanes pretty much figured out unless they decide to flex that Zeri.
Yeah, Bard. I haven't seen Bard in a while, especially paired with something like the Jinx. Bard's Bard's strengths, or in lane at least, he's got the range and he's got a lot of early game harass. So pairing it with the Jinx, I don't really think you have a lot of pressure with that lane. You don't really have a lot to set up those kills and confirm them. So it's very interesting. Probably going to see a lot of movement coming out of that Bard, sort of leaving the Jinx to farm on her own and trying to make pressure elsewhere.
Yeah. Along with the Nautilus and the Zeri from the side of Ohio State, we also see the Volibear come out. Now, I would have to assume that's probably a jungle Volibear. Obviously, it can be flexed a little bit, but then the...
Yeah.
Ahri.
The Ahri, since Ahri just got reworked, right? So her priority has been basically skyrocketed recently since that was affected. The Veigar band's very interesting because that champion has sort of been memed as a hyperscaler, right? Not the most powerful thing. But since the AD carry meta has become a Zeri, Aphelios, Jinx, all of these hyper carry champions that want more support, the Veigar cage is fantastic peel for those champs. So seeing that character being taken off the board makes a lot of sense to me.
Yep.
And it'll be very interesting for me to see what the hunt for value will be picking into the Ahri. A couple of these safer mage picks taken off the board, the Corki, the Veigar, and Ahri being capable of early game all-ins, and Ryan, or the hunt for value, being a new mid laner. His champion pool's a lot smaller, right? So they're pinching him with these two second rotation bans and the early Ahri pickup. So to see what he has to answer this will be interesting. In the first series I casted him play, he did bust out the Annie, so maybe he'll choose that this game.
Yeah.
J-Span making a lot of sense, just another powerful top lane, since they might have that sort of top lane discrepancy if Mukub does end up taking the Volibear into the top lane.
Yep. It's a bit of an interesting draft strategy, as you mentioned, like Value's kind of a new mid laner. It's kind of interesting that Ohio State left themselves in a position where they could get target banned in the mid lane. And I think that's something that Virtue did. Like, they picked Ari, R3, and then banned out 2 mid laners to just try to target his champion pool and put him in an uncomfortable spot. Now, we do see the jungle counter pick here for the side of Virtue as well with a Trundle to answer the Volibear.
I'm pretty sure, I'm not certainly, but Trundle's actually gained a lot of popularity in the top lane.
Right, that
People
is
are going
option.
the lethal tempo Trundle with a hull breaker early and going full split push pressure. It's actually very powerful.
Yeah.
I've seen this champion go 0-6 in lane and then just get a Herald and then kill 2 turrets within maybe a minute or 2 of each other. It's absolutely insane what this character can do at that 1 item spike. So could definitely be a pressure pick, but they do have the option to flex in the jungle so that the picks here from Ohio State aren't sure. They don't know exactly what they're playing against. So again, a good draft coming out from Virtue Gaming here. I like it a lot. We see the Gangplank, sort of a safer top lane, not sure of things. That does mean that the Volibear is going to be heading into the jungle. And we see the hunt for value locking in the Zillion.
That's a fun pick, the Zillion. I've heard CSing on that one could be very hard, but definitely a powerful pick in this meta. You have the Revive on the ultimate that could be absolutely crucial in team fights. And it's just a fun pick to see, especially mid lane.
Yeah, and like we were talking about with the Veigar, the sort of additional utility coming from the mid lane to help out these hyper carries in the bottom lane, Zillion fills that role very well, right?
Yes, yeah.
Especially with the Zeri alongside him. Zeri's ultimate, letting her stack up the movement speed, stack up the attack speed. With Zillion speed on top of it, you can't land a skill shot on this character.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
OSU Blue is going to have a great opportunity to carry this game if they get confidently into the mid game, get some items on those characters, get sort of the mid laner and the AD carry stacked up and ready for some team fights. It's interesting. We see the Wukong locked in, so that might be to counter. They did end up using that Trundle in the jungle, most likely. So Wukong to counter the Gangplank. That's a pretty rough lane with the auto attack reset, with the ability to sort of use the W to dash out of a barrel at the last second.
Yeah.
Can be very difficult for Gangplank to trade in this lane.
Yep. No, definitely a pretty smart counter pick. It was a good way to use the Trundle flex into the jungle or the top, and they do like to go with him jungle. And then Wukong obviously great for setting up team fights. And I feel like if Ari can dash around while Wukong is, spinning up his ultimate, that could be a pretty deadly combo for the side of Virtue.
Yeah, and I'm trying to decide who I favor in this game, and I think a lot of it comes down to when the fights happen.
Yeah.
If Virtue is able to get some early game pressure, get the Bard moving, get the Ari onto the map, creating plays, causing havoc essentially against this very late game scaling comp coming out of Ohio State, they'll be able to get some stuff done. But if they don't stack up the first couple dragons, it's going to be hard to sort of see Trundle, Wukong, all of these pieces come together for a team fight, especially versus something like the Zillion. If there's a Zeri, that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
That's a late game carry. It can cause, it's hard to beat that. But if there's 2 Zeris because you get Zillion ultimate, what do? How do you kill this character twice with all of the mobility provided by her team? So it's definitely going to be interesting to see. I definitely think,
I definitely think like Zeri is going to be, absolutely a main focus. You got to shut her down if you're Virtue because she's probably going to be the one carrying most of the team fights. But I do feel like Gangplank's barrels are also going to be able to do a lot of damage, and they're going to go under the radar due to the focus on Zeri. If all your like skill shots, all your CCs being aimed at Zeri, that leaves Gangplank wide open to make some of these moves. And obviously you got good setup with the Nautilus and the Volibear for some, crowd control options. So a couple different ways to engage if you're Ohio State, but I feel like the Wukong is the clear threat, and that can turn team fights almost instantly.
Yeah, and with that, I think we're going to take a small break for competitive integrity, and we'll be back.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the broadcast. We should be hopping into Game 1 here shortly in between Ohio State and Virtue Gaming Ambition. My name is Matthew. This is my friend Mason. Mason, what are you looking forward to most about this matchup?
Yeah, so basically the teams have drafted 2 compositions that have opposite win conditions, right? One has to get ahead early game, and one needs to sort of stall out that pressure, keep it off until you can get to the late game team fighting of the Zeri-Zillion combo, essentially, right? Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see basically jungle pathing in the early game. That's what I'm going to focus on. That's what I'm going to sort of see the decision-making for the teams here. But the most important thing to me is like the combinations between these mids and jungles, right? If the Trundle and the Ahri sort of move together, they can cause a lot of problems across the entire map, with the Bard coming up as well. But something interesting that we didn't get to touch on in draft is the sort of powerful combination with the Volibear plus the Zillion, right? All of the gank pressure from that Volibear is just running at people. Well, if you double the speed that champion moves at with the Zillion E, then that's a lot more potent, right? So if they can pin down the Ahri before she gets the 6, the extra dashes from her ultimate, they can cause a lot of damage there and sort of slow down the game plan that Virtue Game is going for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think getting to that Ahri before level 6, hopefully getting 1 kill on her, is actually going to be pretty crucial into like setting up that late game scaling. Obviously, Virtue with the more early game composition, they want to get ahead early. They want to, snowball the game. Ohio State definitely electing to probably like scale, stay back a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see if Ohio State can use that, mid-jungle duo to actually get ahead just a little bit early themselves.
Yeah, and we are going to hop right into the game. Bard coming down the mid lane, trying to get some early Spell Thief's value on the opponents. Take a little glance at these runes, see if anything's weird. I don't notice anything immediately. Lethal tempos across the board on powerful things. Mookub going to go the first strike, so even in a matchup that I think is losing, opting to take that more aggressive, that more sort of greedy, right? Trying to get early game gold from the first strike, rather than going something more defensive with the health and the more defensive runes of the Grasp of the Undying. So
yeah, I do think, earlier you mentioned Wukong dashing out of the way of a barrel or something, but like one of those lands, then you do, proc the first strike. So I don't know exactly how aggressive the Wukong's going to be able to be with that W, as if he, dashes in with the clone, then he's going to be left pretty defenseless to any oncoming barrels. So I think, honestly, the first strike kind of makes sense for the gangplank.
Yeah, if you can survive the lane and you get the extra value, then you've just come out with an extra 300, sometimes 400 gold.
Exactly.
So if you can manage to make it work, it's a fantastic selection. It's just both of these top laners are going to be glass cannons and a great hook coming out. Yeah, I'm not going to turn into too much.
Yep, just a little bit of level 1 trades. Probably not too much kill pressure from either lane this early. But one thing I am noticing is both aggressive summoners for the bot lanes. We got Exhaust running on both the AD carries and then Ignite for both the supports. So no one electing to go for heal. It's going to be, trading blows right back and forth, and I don't think anyone's going to hesitate to go in. That being said, we do have a level 2 opportunity for Ohio State. They're going to be able to shove in this wave, and I don't think they're going to get much of an opportunity from it.
Yeah, and we've sort of been describing Ohio State as the scaling comp in the situation. They want to play slower. They want to be able to take mid-game team fights with their item spikes. But as a support player, Flexitine very focused on the hook champions, and as a bottom lane, Ohio State's very aggressive. So I don't really know if they sort of know how to play defensively. They don't know how to hold it back. They're going to be going for kills, even when the team doesn't exactly line up for that kind of play, but they are still going to be able to make that aggressiveness happen. So as we're seeing with those early hooks, these early trades coming out in the bottom lane.
Yeah, exactly. You can see Gangplank's already got his way pushed in. This could actually lead to some trouble, as it looks like Trundle's making his way up through the river. But first, there's a little bit of a trade in the bot side. It seems like Ohio State's going to win that, but now Wukong's flashing in on a Mookub. Wukong's getting pretty low, though. Looks like Gangplank's going to heal a little bit, but he won't heal enough. Trundle will pick up first blood for the side of Virtue.
Yeah, and both of these top laners, like we were trying to say, they're glass cannons, right? They're especially in the early game before they get any defensive items. Both of these champs can just fall over. So trying to get that wave in and crashed and bounce back towards them, Mookub overextends a little bit and gets punished by the Trundle gang.
Yep, so, the snowball that Virtue's looking for, that's a good start for him.
Right.
And a little bit of a mistake there for Mookub, pushing up a little too far forward, but shouldn't be too hard to recover. Obviously, he's going to have the first strike. He was able to pick up a sword off of that first buy. So not completely useless recall.
Picking up some extra combat stats, right? Something important to note, we do see number 2 Ginger had to use the flash to make that play to get the extra damage in, and even then he was still a little bit nervous. Mookub elects to hold his flash, saying that I can't escape this Trundle anyway.
Exactly.
So he does have that summoner sort of be able to live another play if there's another one on the top side.
Yep. So far, other than the first blood, not too much going on. The level 2, the 2v2 bot trades, they've been focusing on going for the Bard a lot, actually. They haven't really, a lot of the hooks from Tulox have come onto the Bard and not really targeted the Jinx just yet, so.
Yeah, I think a big reason for that is the fact that Jinx went longsword triple potion, and the Bard only gets to start with 2, right? So it's sort of hard to tear through the sustain of the 3 potions on the AD carry there. So targeting the support, getting them to both their pots, then sort of setting up for that all-in with your double kill lane, or double kill summoner lane. It should be able to get a lot more work done, so I do like the targeting he's choosing to go for. BioGamer setting up for a dive, giant wave crashing. If they're able to pull this off, number 2 Ginger is going to lose a lot of XP and gold. Bio still threatening the gank.
Yeah, he's completely forced off this wave, so this is really good to get the Gangplank back ahead in this situation. Obviously, the level 3 death for the first blood. Obviously not the best, but he's definitely out-farming Wukong by a large margin. He's already shoving in this wave.
Yeah, this wave, this deny of this wave, there's no teleport, there's no flash, right? So he can't stand by the turret and go for an outplay. He can't teleport back, so even though Mukub died in the early game, sort of getting punished on the overextend, he got his wave all the way in, so he doesn't lose that much on the death, just the 300 gold that went over to the jungler. And now he's got a significant advantage, right? He's stacked up anyways constantly, and the jungle pressure from the other side hasn't been enough to slow him down. So this Gangplank's looking very powerful going into the mid game.
Exactly, yeah, but there does come a little bit of a trade-off as that was being described. The Drake was taken by Virtue, so they'll get the first one on the board. Noticing, you know, BioGamer up on the top side, you're going to have a lot of pressure to go for that Drake for free. Now, Ari has reached level 6 without a single gank coming out here yet, so a lot more mobility on that champion now. Obviously, Zillion reaching level 6 as well, so an extra life with every, you know, engage he elects to go for.
Yeah, I don't see them pinning down Japania fan at this point, right? The Ari ultimate and the flash still available. There's not really a lot that Volibear and Zillion are going to be able to force here. The Ari is up 10 CS and is pressuring the Hunter value pretty aggressively here. So maintaining an advantage there to sort of counteract the one Mukub has been building. Yep. So, and as we were saying, Virtue sort of needs to get the early game pressure, needs to get this threat before the enemy team scales to that Zeri Zillion team fight. And getting an early dragon stack is really important for that play, right? So eventually, if they keep stacking these dragons, Ohio State is going to have to get in there, going to have to break it up a bit so that the soul doesn't go over to Virtue.
Yep. Now the Gangplank up in the top lane has reached level 6 as he got that huge wave that he collected himself. Unfortunately, the jungler for Virtue wasn't able to, you know, return the favor and shove Gangplank off that wave. So he's going to be pretty much free farming, and, you know, Wukong's just kind of chilling in the bush waiting for this opportunity. But other than that, not too many plays happening around the map. It's, you know, willing to just sit around, you know, farm a little bit, get to a more powerful state before making any kind of engages. And I feel like we'll start to see those, you know, more intense team fights once this bot lane reaches level 6.
And speaking of this bot lane, Volley's looking for a lane gank here. BioGamer might try to get the angle. Once this wave crashes and bounces back out, they might look to go for this, but I think he was spotted walking up into that bush. I'm not exactly sure. Ari's rotating from behind, so they might be able to get a counter gank from the mid lane roam.
Yeah, this bot lane's going to get pretty interesting here soon as Ari has to pop the ultimate early just to get away. BioGamer's still looking for the angle. Ari uses all 3 dashes, but the Bard is rotating up to try to make some play happen. Fluix goes for the hook and doesn't actually have too much. Now Bard's just going to have to escape. There's not going to be any kind of follow. And it looks like Ohio State's looking to hunt after Ari, or at least get that blue buff from the opposing jungle. So
yeah, like we were saying, that Ari, once she gets the ultimate, very hard to pin down, hard to make these plays on. I don't super like what we just saw from Ohio State, right? They were split on the play. Some of them tried to chase Ari. Flux was going for a hook back down to the bottom lane, but they're looking to set up a dive.
Yep, there's a double ultimate pop, and now Volibear will crash the tower. They will pick up a kill from it, and doesn't look like anyone's going to drop it now. Fluix in a pretty bad spot, and the Bard will drop the Ignite. That should finish him off, so it ends up being a 1-for-1 down in the bot lane.
Yeah, 1-for-1, and a play that was probably guaranteed. They have a Volibear ultimate, and they have a member advantage in the bottom side. They probably shouldn't be trading kills here, but it looks like Ohio State's sort of out of sync with each other, right? They're going for split plays. Somebody's focusing one target, the other half of the team's focusing another. So if they keep doing this, it is impressive, right? Because they are supposed to be the scaling team. They're not supposed to have the early game advantage. So they are still getting things done on the map, so they still probably are favored. But if the team fights start happening and you aren't synchronized to kill something like the Jinx, something like the Trundle running around, the resets can start to cause a problem for your team. So yeah, I'd like to see Ohio State sort of polish that up a bit going into the sort of mid-game team fights over the next dragon. Got about a 400 gold lead here, so might look to fight for this dragon, or might just opt to fight on the third.
Yeah, well, it looks like we're going to have a bit of a fight here in the mid lane that we're going to dash away from immediately as Wukong goes in onto the Gangplank. Doesn't get too much damage down, or at least not too much threat. Now, both teams just kind of positioning for this next Drake. They're about a minute early, but now Wukong's still going back in, getting a lot of damage down onto this Gangplank. But the Gangplank's got the huge wave, and it's actually chunking down Wukong a decent amount. So a lot of minions putting in work there for the Gangplank to keep him, you know, at least somewhat even in the lane.
Yeah, and every time we hop back up to this top lane, it looks like Wukong's winning a trade, right? He's getting a chunk onto the Gangplank's health. But the Gangplank doesn't really seem to care. He's 80 CS to 48, right? He's got almost double the CS of the enemy laner as they look for a play in the bottom lane.
Yeah, this could get interesting. Like a double knockup from the Nautilus, and it looks like nothing is going to come of it. It was a bit of a dangerous portal there for Ohio State. A lot of, you know, enemies coming out of one place at one time. Looked like it could be lethal, but nothing ends up coming from it. And now it does look like Virtue are setting up to take the second Drake, and Volibear up on the top side. You have to think not too much contest from Ohio State should they like to go for it.
Yeah, with the support recalling here and Dragon spawning in 10 seconds, he might be able to get back on the map in time, but without the Nautilus ultimate, it's hard to see an angle for Ohio State to take this fight. So Volibear up in the top side, just going to keep farming his Wolf Camp. Looks like they're going to wait until the next Dragon to contest. Yep. We're hoping for them, if you're rooting for Ohio State, that the next Dragon that pops out is a Cloud Dragon. And then the soul pressure is a lot less. If it's an Infernal, if it's a Mountain, they're much more concerned with getting in there and breaking up that third Dragon. But
exactly.
With this scaling comp, if they get a Cloud, they have basically an extra 10 minutes to just scale. And we do see it is going to be that Earth Drake, so.
Yep, so pretty good roll on the Drake stacking for Virtue, as there are 2 Drakes closer to that Mountain Soul, as we now know. And this looks like it could be an angle for the Trundle. He's just going to just waiting. He's got the Rift Herald in his pocket. I kind of missed that getting picked up. But he does have that advantage when he wants to use it. And now Nautilus is walking up to this Bard who's just going to walk away from him. So still a little bit of trading, but it looks like Ohio State's got about an 800 gold lead pretty early in this game. But the 2 Drakes, obviously, to Virtue, are pretty big advantage.
Yeah, and before the game, we were talking about the important thing to focus on is going to be the jungle pathing, right? What are the junglers doing? Where are they applying pressure? What are they doing with their time? Most of this game, they've been pathing opposite of one another, just full clearing the camps and going for one play. But the side that Virtue is going towards, the side this Trundle is going towards, generally has been the one that was the objective. He's been able to pick up the first Dragon. He was able to pick up the Rift Herald, because when Bio's going for a play onto the bot side, the objective is up on the other one. And right now he's going for a play onto this tower, trying to threaten a bit.
Yeah, this looks like a pretty dangerous position for Bio Gamer. It looks like he's just going to have to ult out, I believe. But now the fight on the backside, Blue's going to pop the ultimate and go in for the damage, but he doesn't get exhausted. Double knockup coming from the Nautilus. But Blue's in a 1v4. He's in a bad spot. He takes the ball, doesn't end up doing much, and now the Bard ultimate will buy some time, and they will be able to kill off the Jinx instead. Now fighting the top lane breaks out, and the Wukong Cyclone is laying a little bit of damage. Gangplank's looking to finish it up. He pops the stopwatch. That's one rune I noticed pretty early in the game, but it's not going to end up mattering. A double flash.
Ooh, the bone play to get the last second.
Oh, man, he almost finished that kill, but couldn't quite finish off the Gangplank. So a lot traded to the top side for not too much, actually.
Yeah, that was a full 2 minutes of fighting back to back to back. Yeah. That was incredible. Very aggressive, like we were talking about from that Ohio State bottom lane. Actually, Muko works in here. Another sliver of health just walking out from this Wukong.
Mukub, it might be time to take that recall right around now. You're in a pretty precarious spot should you get dove by this Wukong again. Now, the Rift Herald has been popped in mid lane, and it is a 3v2. They will just let the charge go through, pick up a couple of turret plates. So that should put them a little bit closer in gold. But it's still about, 700 gold leads. So while that's not too big for an early game, that is, could be noticeable if they start to scale their items correctly.
Yeah, and as we were saying, as they try to scale into this mid-game teamfight, a quick pause coming out. But as they're trying to scale into these mid-game teamfights with the Gangplank, with the Zillion Zeri combo, it's going to be very important to sort of focus on those CS leads that we see.
Yeah.
Bottom lane, about 30 CS ahead. I think it was about 90 for the Jinx and 120 for the Zeri. Top lane, as we've been sort of focusing on the rest of the game, the Gangplank is building a giant CS lead up there, sort of the gap being closed now that Wukong's able to take effective trades into him as items sort of are coming through, but he's not finishing those kills, and if you're not finishing the kills on the Gangplank and he's just stacking up gold with the passive and with the CS advantage that he's mounted with the first strike we were talking about, that champion is going to be very threatening once he hits a couple item spikes.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one thing that we didn't end up mentioning in the pregame, but I did take notice of, is that Wukong went with the perfectly timed stopwatch. Or not Wukong,
the
Gangplank. Yeah, did. And he was able to use it in that fight just to buy himself a little bit more time. And so that might have, played a part in keeping him alive. And,
I mean, we saw the bone plating wasn't being procced during that trade the entire duration of it. So the fact that he stopwatch buys himself that 2.5 seconds and the bone plating comes up for the very last auto attack, it made the difference. The play was made by that perfectly timed stopwatch. So good route selection, it seems like, coming out. The first strike seems to be effective enough, right? It seems to have, he's durable enough with just the secondary resolve tree. And he's using that pressure to build a giant CS advantage. And once he starts hitting Trinity Force or whichever item he chooses to build, the impact on turrets, being able to split push in the side and affect teamfights with the ultimate, and these barrels, if he's able to find the flanks that you were talking about earlier.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a lot of damage in these mid-game teamfights. Looks like we're going to be hopping back into the game where we were.
Yep, so Trundle quietly has 2 kills as he's been roaming around the map trying to make plays himself. BioGamer has, kill and assist himself. So while both these junglers are getting proactive plays, Trundle's been able to pick up some of the more neutral objectives with the 2 Drakes and the Rift Herald. But that being said, the CS leads are, carrying Ohio State into a gold lead so far.
Yeah, it is important to focus on that CS, right? Even if the plays are slightly in favor of Virtue, the almost 2,000 gold at this point has come just from last hitting better or having better management of these minion waves. And this is the important thing. This is where the game flips on its head, right? We're getting to that 3rd dragon. It looks like they're going for a play on the Mookub here.
And Trundle showing up at just the right time. I'm not sure Mookub can do much to survive here. He's going to get chunked low, and he will probably end up falling. Looks like they're going to give the kill over to the Wukong. Good setup from Wukong, and Trundle was there to back him up and just secure that kill. So this is a good chance for the Wukong to catch up on some CS, crash the tower. Probably not take it down the entire way, but at least get a good chunk of it down.
Yeah, but they're looking for a 4-man bot to sort of counteract this play, but the Hunt for Value getting caught off on the side.
Yep, he should have the ultimate up, but they got 3 under the turret, so it looks like Ohio State's going to try to take this bot turret instead. They should be able to knock it down with the Demolish as well. Now the Bartle will stop any kind of break. Now Ari's here, shows up. Looks like Volibear will disable the turret temporarily, and Ari will escape. So not too much actual fighting done, but a few ultimates dropped and a turret drops as well.
Yeah, we get to see a couple of the few champions that actually are able to interact with those towers, right?
Yeah.
We see the Bard disabling the turret, defending it for a few extra seconds, and then because of that sort of time lost hitting and killing it, the minions sort of being killed during that duration, Biogame was forced to use his ultimate to just disable it for a few extra seconds. So
exactly.
Ohio State is able to take down that turret first. They get the extra bonus gold from that, but it is traded back in the top side. This is the important moment. 30 seconds before this next dragon, right? This is where the game can sort of be decided. If Ohio State can stop the dragon stacking right here, slow down Virtue, and then use their CS advantages, finish up some items, and scale into that sort of mid-game team fighting prowess that we've sort of described them to have this entire game, that will probably be it. It's hard to fight back from that. When you have the more early game focused characters, the less utility of something like a Wukong, a Trundle, and an Ari.
Yep.
So this team fight is what matters. This is where all the pressure is lining up, and it's looked like Ohio State's able to get pretty strong vision control.
Yeah, they're pretty well set up for this, but the Virtue's not going to let this Drake go down without a fight. So far, Scuttle has been secured by Ohio State. You'll see the TP come in from the game plank, and Nautilus just doing a little bit of zoning control. Ohio State looks like they're just focusing on the Drake for now. But here comes the Trundle. Charmed Lance. Mookub's going to get out of there with the cleanse. And now the ult comes down. Cyclone as well. Nautilus will drop, and now Blue pops the ultimate himself. Looks like Volibear will pick up the Drake, and a little bit of damage coming through them. Little bit of fighting here, and looks like only Biogamer from Ohio State's going to end up surviving. Although Hunt for Value is under his turret, has a chance, but they will dive him and finish off the last kill. So while Ohio State are able to pick up the Drake, Virtue is able to win the team fight, and that is absolutely crucial in this game.
Yeah, and they have a Herald to use in the mid lane to pick up this turret afterwards. We were talking about this moment being very important, and you see both teams realize that, right? Ohio State hard commits for this dragon to slow down the stack. But in doing so, they lose their gold advantage. This is a 3,000 gold swing in the opposite direction. So maybe with that additional pressure, even if they aren't stacking the soul, with the item lead, they're able to sort of force these team fights with their more scrappy composition, and Virtue will be able to sort of position themselves to be a bigger lead at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see the 2 kills to the 8, Virtue taking the leading kills, and they've also got a pretty fed Wukong and Trundle, despite the early game CS lead from Gangplank. He now has 3 deaths. We are seeing some of the mythics come online. We see the Trinity Force coming out of the Zeri and the Gangplank, and we see Divine Thunderers from the Wukong and the Trundle. So
yeah, if you're not up to date on Zeri itemization, there have been many arguments about it. People are all over the place on it.
Naturally.
Originally, she was building that Triforce Titanic, the more bruisery build. But there were some nerfs to some of those items and nerfs to the character on the most recent patch. So people were beginning to build Criticate, right? They went for the shielding item, the shield bow, that's the one. Yes.
Yeah.
The shield bow and other critical strike items on the character, but if you are up to date on the win rates of those builds, Trinity Force is slightly better at all points in the game until 5 items. So
interesting.
People were sort of shifting into that crit, but deciding against it in the long term, it actually turned out to be a little bit worse. But Mookub having to flash away from the pillar, but the second Wukong Cyclone coming in.
Yeah, it's just another Trundle gank in the top lane, and while flashes are traded from the Wukong and the Gangplank will end up falling. And now Ari does pop the ultimate herself, and looks like she might have been in a bit of danger there from the Zillion, but not too much going to come out of this fight. Now Bard in a bit of danger, will use the portal to get away, and so just you know, a little bit of trading, but I don't think Ohio State's eager to pull a trigger on a team fight being down 3K gold. That being said, it does look like they've got the Trundle and the Wukong wandering around in the Ohio State jungle looking for an angle, and I think Nautilus and Zeri are aware of it, as they will kind of back out, you know, clear some vision, get control of their jungle, and hopefully set up for the next play.
And these scraps have just consistently gone into Virtue's favor, right? They have the better sort of, not 5v5 team fights, the 2v2s, the 3v3s. Their characters are much more capable in these fights, right? So even though BioGamer and Mookub have these CS advantages, their opponents on the other side, the Wukong and the Trundle, they've got bounties. These guys are strong, they are ahead in items, and they are ready to fight, especially in a 2v2. So.
Yep, it's one of my favorite phrases. Whenever I, don't get an S in game because my CS is low, I just say I was farming the champions, Because that's exactly what these two are doing. They don't care about the CS numbers. They're getting the gold from killing the Gangplank and killing the Zeri bot lane from Ohio State, and so far it's working.
Right, it's working for them, and we're getting sort of back into that situation we were just 5 minutes ago. This next dragon spawning, and with the gold, Virtue is still in a position to win this game. They're still in a position to claim that dragon soul soon and then close it out, but Ohio State still has the opportunity to stop it, so this dragon fight is going to mean a lot, right?
Yep.
We've got to be able to see if, with the extra items they've begun to complete, we've basically one item across the board, if they're going to be able to lock down this Zeri-Zillion combination of important flash coming out from support. So the engage onto this Jinx is going to be weaker for the dragon fight.
Yep, no, Nautilus looked like he was in a pretty difficult spot there for a second, has to flash out away from the Chompers. And now we've got a little less than a minute until this next Drake, and Virtue was able to get in there, clear some vision out first, but now Ohio State has a bit more control over the river. And we do see Gangplank's up top, but he does have to teleport. Wukong as well with teleports, double teleports up for both teams actually. But so far, Virtue just got 5 men in the river, making sure they're getting the most out of this setup.
Yeah, Wukong definitely electing to not, even though he has the teleport available, isn't really scared of Gangplank threatening his outer turret. Wants to be in position for the dragon earlier rather than later. And actually, we see him rotating back to answer this wave. Gangplank's pushing in. Bio looking for a play.
Yeah, a bit of an interesting selection. I mean, this probably just gives up the Drake should Virtue go for it. And so they're looking for something topside on this Wukong, or at least, to take down this turret. And the bot turret will fall as well. Value's just going to have to defend the 2v1 and, hold
position on the Wukong.
But now Wukong in a bit of danger. Uses the phone, tries to escape, and a good hook from the Nautilus, but now the ultimate pocket for the Wukong. He has the second charge. Revolver will disable the tower, and the Bardo's going to buy plenty of time. The TP comes through. They're not going to be able to kill off the Wukong. Finally they do, and there's a shutdown. Charm landed by Ari onto the Gangplank, and he's able to cleanse it. Now Ari's going to dash around, and a good double flash from the Bard.
Zillion's here.
And then he will be able to finish off the Gangplank as well. Now Bard going down pretty quickly, or that's Ari going down pretty quickly. BioGamer's going to do a lot of damage. And now the Bard's going to escape, but Zeri over the wall, and they will be able to find the damage, but BioGamer almost drops, can't quite. Trundle and Jinx pushing in the mid lane, but Ohio State's going to win the team fight and get themselves some good shutdowns. Oh, the Jinx Rocket's able to take down the Volibear. And that's one on the backside that's actually really crucial for the Jinx to pick up.
Yeah, and the reset lets her push these turrets faster. Trundle, as we were talking about when we were talking about it being in the top lane, destroys turrets. Jinx with the minigun is blasting away, and I don't know if I like the commitment to the top side from Ohio State. That third dragon picked up, 3 turrets coming out for Virtue is going to extend this gold even more, even though they lost that team fight.
Yeah, it was
the late TP coming in from the Zillion isn't able to get the ultimate to save one of his teammates. Has to use it at the very end when he's scared that the Bard is going to trade back onto his Volibear, and the trade comes through anyway as the Jinx Rocket comes in to finish it up. So,
yep, definitely an interesting selection to go for that play for Ohio State, and they almost, came out on top. They were able to drop the turret as well as a few kills, but obviously the few kills traded back. And now Virtue on Soul Point, and that's Mountain Soul Point, which is absolutely, critical in this game state.
Yeah, and this kind of gold advantage and put some extra money into the pocket of the Jinx for the play coming in the mid lane.
Yep, there's a root from the Jinx, and the Bard will not take the portal to get away. It looks like Jinx thinks she can turn the fight, and it's just going to be a little bit traded back. A lot of damage on both supports, but both AD carries doing just fine, and it looks like they're not going to decide to duel.
Yeah, but that was a lot of gold put into the pockets of the Jinx, right? She's on that 2 items, looking to get that Infinity Edge most likely for that third, and once she hits those items, team fighting versus this character is almost impossible. One member of your team drops, which you can sort of stop with the Zillion ultimate, but if she gets that one reset, if she starts getting excited in these team fights, then it's hard to shut this character down. So
Exactly.
Virtue's looking very scary as the Baron is now on the map, as they're sort of looking to get some deep vision for the next dragon for their soul point. Ohio State's going to have to find a good angle or a pick before a team fight to be able to win it. It's looking rough.
Yep, and I think one crucial thing is that Ohio State needs to make sure this mid lane wave is in a good spot, because if they lose a team fight and the wave is not in their advantage, you got 2 TPs, obviously not both of them up right now, but that's a push for the end. They get the inhibitor, maybe get a Nexus tower or two. Like, Virtue have set themselves up where if they win this next team fight, they could just, push and end the game. And they will look to surround BioGamer here, but the Nautilus is able to back them up, so not too much pressure just yet. The Bard will land the stun and then portal himself out of there. But just kind of a little bit of dancing on the Baron pit, clearing some of the vision, making sure, no one's trying to cheekily start it up. But,
I think they're just trying to keep their eyes on the Baron, make sure neither team started here. I think we are going to be looking at that fight in 2 minutes at the Dragon Soul, right? But an important thing to note on, you were talking about the mid lane wave control being important, but a pick in the jungle.
Oh, that's
Ari has the dashes.
The ball barrel's going to miss, and Ari's going to be able to dash all the way to the cone and just get herself out of there. That was a pretty impressive escape considering the way that fight started.
Yeah, she's got the ultimate, the 3 charges of the dash, as well as the flash. She's holding the flash,
Didn't even
right?
burn flash.
So just very confident that she has the tools to survive in that play, and that's what I wanted to touch on, right? We have the Gangplank is a powerful pick, the Zilean is a powerful pick, but they're not nearly as powerful as the Ahri and the Wukong in those 1v1s, which is what has sort of been focused on for the last couple minutes here. The Wukong splitting in the bot, the Ahri splitting in top, and without extra members coming to assist, neither of those matchups are winning for Ohio State, so they're happy to get this team fight rolling, get sort of grouped up again so they can put their pieces together to sort of finish their puzzle, and ultimate coming out.
Yep. Oh, that's going to be a
Jinx
pick
is
onto
extended.
the Jinx. There's an exhaust down onto the support, but it's not going to matter in the shutdown. Unfortunately, it goes over to Nautilus. Now TP in, Ari's going to come in. The Gangplank ult is dropped. Zeri will drop her ultimate as well. The Bard ult freezes 3, I believe. And now it's a lot of confusion. The Cyclone comes through. The Nautilus will be resurrected by the Zilean, and now Blue will drop. So there's a lot of damage down for Ohio State. Now Ari's going to have to ult away. She will be able to get shielded. And now the Bard's going to get herself away as well. Trundle just kind of backing away. And so it ends up being a 1-for-1 after the Jinx drop. So technically a 2-for-1.
You can't take a team fight without your drinks. Both of these teams are built around those 80 carries, and when you're just fighting without yours, it's really, really hard to win. The Jinx is going to be respawned before the Soul spawns, but it's going to be hard for them to get this positioning back versus Ohio State. They might have to just give this one, and that's going to stall it out for the Zeri and the Zilean to get even more powerful.
Yeah, no, it was very interesting because that team fight could have been completely different if the Zeri didn't drop so early. Obviously, like with the Jinx being down, that's most of your team's damage. And so the ability for like Wukong to get in there with the Cyclone, stall the fight, where we're going into another fight. BioGamer's going to go in onto the Trundle, get about half his health, and now Jinx
is on the side.
Free-firing. Wukong's on the back, and now Ginger's in the fight. Hasn't popped the ultimate, doesn't have the ultimate.
He's getting excited.
And now Jinx is getting excited, getting a lot of kills. Ari's going to pick up some dashes with the ultimate, and now Nuka drops as well. Blue looking to put in as much damage as he can before getting out. He's able to use the wall to get over, and now the Bard ult's going to pretty much secure the death. The Zilean's just kind of walking up, and I'm not really sure why, because he can't do much in this fight. Might actually get a stun on the one, but the Flash is going to end up securing the kill. There's an ace for Virtue. They'll pick up the Mountain Soul, and they'll probably march it down mid lane.
Yeah, that's the ace, that's the soul, that's probably Baron Nashor as well. Ari might push to grab this inhibitor real quick by herself as well. And that was a massive team fight to bring it back into Virtue's favor. I was nervous for them. They're going into that corridor. They have no ultimates available, but neither does Ohio State, right? There's no ults for either side. And apparently Ohio State's team comp sort of relying on those ultimates a little bit more, where Jinx, once she gets that first kill, can tear the entire team fight apart. Bio looking to clear a little bit of wards, but he's not going to be able to get into this jungle. Ari's probably not going to be able to finish him, and it will be the Baron Nashor.
Yeah, so really big pickup of Baron for the side of Virtue. And one thing for that team fight, the target selection onto the Trundle immediately. He's probably almost unkillable. I don't even think they popped Hysterics with that initial engage by BioGamer. So you got to be more focused on the Jinx. You were able to get that pick on her once in the river, and you got to be like focused on that. That being said, objective bounties have come up for Ohio State's pickup, and they do have a mid lane turret tier 1 that they could get. Hopefully, if they just keep jumping this way, the inhibitor has not been dropped.
I don't really think they have the opportunity to push out that far, right? And like you were saying, this Trundle looks unkillable in that team fight. He hasn't been killed a single time.
No.
And he even grabs the double chain vest here just to get use whatever gold's in his pockets to sort of end the game here is what it looks like to me. And like we were touching on earlier, this Wukong and this Ahri in the side lanes are more powerful than their counterparts. It's hard for them to match. And with the Baron buff to support that, how does a Zilean stop a Wukong? Like,
Yeah.
these turrets are going to be pressured in all 3 lanes, so Ohio State is going to have to find a miracle engage to sort of stop the 3 members in mid lane, or some roam down to the sides to pick a Wukong or pick an Ahri that are pushing these waves in. So,
Yeah.
very hard for OSU to play.
I just think, I mean, with the Wukong specifically, like he's got Death Dance, he's got the Divine Thunder. I don't really think you can kill him with one person.
Yeah, I mean,
no
you
matter
can't.
who the person
You
is.
definitely can't, right?
So-
Even if he takes a barrel with this Mountain Soul available, and he's looking under the turret.
Diamond
Wukong-
Wukong. Kurt's not going to be able to. No, he's got way too much health.
There's just not enough to do it. He's got so much sustain. He's got the healing from the Sunder and the Death Stance like you were touching on.
Yeah.
And the Soul just to build up those resistances even further. It's hard to make a play anywhere. And
Yeah.
now in this 4v4, it's going to be almost impossible unless BioGamer finds a big stun onto that Jinx, and the rest of the team could follow up.
Yeah, it's going to come down to BioGamer. He does have Flash Ultimate, but he's looking like he's going to answer this Wukong, or at least the bottom turret is being pushed. So no engages coming out just yet. Virtue using this Baron buff really well to knock down some tier 2s, as they've gotten all 3 of them. And they have the tier 3 in the mid lane as well. So they should be looking to push onto some.
Yeah, the Baron's going to time out in about 10 seconds here, so they're going to try to pick up this turret and maybe an inhibitor beforehand. But
Yeah, I know.
with everything in mind, Ohio State's doing a pretty good job of holding this. They're too scared to grab these inhibitors, so...
Yep, that being said, Trundle's pushing up solo in the mid lane. He's going to draw some attention, and looks like Jinx and Bard have retreated into that jungle. Ahri tries to lend the charm, won't quite do so, and now the engage from Nautilus can't quite come through. Makes Ahri puff the ultimate, though, so that should wear off, but it doesn't happen, you know, with any timers that are relevant being up.
Yeah, and this Baron buff's still up, about to be gone, though.
Yep, now Trundle's actually in a bad
A bit
spot. He's going
far.
to get engaged on by 4. Gets exhausted. He's going to have so much tankiness. Gets Everfrost. He's able to get rooted. Now the Sterak's is finally popped. It's taking about 10 seconds to kill this Trundle. They're able to do so finally, but again, Baron's not up for 3 minutes. Elder's not up for 2 minutes. It is good to get that shutdown money, but what do you do now?
Yeah, we were saying he was unkillable, so obviously the caster curse comes in. He does get picked off trying to steal that Wraith camp away from the opponents.
If
But
it works, it works.
this is where I get a little bit concerned, right? If they're not able to end there, they are mounting a gold lead. They did pick up some turrets. At this point, 6,000 gold ahead. But you had Baron and you had Soul, and you didn't crack an inhibitor, right?
Yeah.
So if Ohio State gets more time, they keep farming on this Gangplank, even though his score doesn't look the most impressive. This character is at 3 items, picks up that crit cloak as well, so he's nearing 100%.
Yep.
He's very powerful. So like we were saying, Virtue needs to get ahead, and they are, but they have to end it while they're ahead. They can't let Ohio State get a bunch of extra time. They can't let them get to these items and where Zeri will be able to carry a team fight with 2 lives. So
Yeah.
I'm getting nervous for Virtue. They're still in a strong position here, but if they don't end soon, they're going to start getting outscaled.
Yeah, they have to keep this strong position just for, you know, another minute and 20 seconds. Because I think this game probably does come down to that Elder Dragon. And here's a pick on the BioGamer, and this is, you know, pretty early. He's going to have to ult out of there, and that's going to be a timer down for a little bit. Ahri's popped the ult as well. Now Nautilus gets stunned up, and he will probably drop. Tries to hook himself in. It doesn't actually land on anyone. Double knockup isn't going to come out too much. Ahri's health just got chunked, so he's probably going to back out. But now Zillion's in a bit of danger. Probably going to have to... Doesn't pop the ultimate at all. Oh, there's the extra life gone from the side of Ohio State. And with 47 seconds before Elder, that's a crucial pick.
Yeah, holding it right. If you ult there, you probably aren't getting saved by your team. You don't really have a front line to bail you out. So holding it so maybe if he reses, he can get protect. But they're not even looking for the dragon position. They're looking to pull the plug here.
Wukong getting in with the Cyclone on the 2. Mukub's already dropped, probably just solo killed by the Trundle almost. And now BioGamer's going to fall as well. It's all up to Blue, and he's got a lot of damage and a lot of kiting, but there's a lot of tankiness.
I've seen Zeri win these.
There's some pretty famous clips of that, but unfortunately, he's getting a little bit
still
of damage
stacking
so
the
far,
ult.
dodging the traps, but, you know, a lot to farm up. But this is, you know, 2 inhibs down for the side of Virtue. It is on the top 2 side as well. And so with the Elder up in 4 seconds, they're just going to pivot to that. Doesn't look like Ohio State have many wards for Zillion to even teleport to. And it'd be a 3v5 anyways. So a terrible spot heading into this Elder, and it looks like they might just have to give it, honestly.
Yeah, BioGame will falling there again. It's going to be hard. Nautilus trying to get some Vigil, trying to see what's going on, try to get a miracle steal of this objective, but they just completely choked out of the vision, completely choked out of the jungle. OSU Blue looking for some heroics
but
here,
Ari's
but there's
there
a
with
charm.
the charm. It's over. Blue just gets deleted, and now Zillion and Nautilus will be forced to retreat. Elder Dragon goes to the side of Virtue Gaming, and now Ari's looking for the angle on the Zillion. Gonna get hit with something, and then Biogamer's in a bit of damage. Gets the smite, but actually doing a lot of damage onto the Ari. Ari's gonna pop the stopwatch. The rocket comes through, not gonna do too much damage. Actually, Ari's doing a lot of damage, but Biogamer is as well. Elder buff hits the ball of
Cyclone.
So much damage coming through. The Gangplank will get deleted. The Cyclone doing so much work. The double kill from the Wukong. Jinx picked up one herself. And now it looks like it's only Nautilus alive to defend the base. I'm not quite sure he's going to be able to pull that one off.
Certainly that's going to be the game. I've seen Fluxatine make some miracle plays, but I don't think he's going to win 1 versus 5 versus a Mountain Soul Elder Dragon team with all 3 inhibs down. So that is going to be game 1 going to Virtue. They got the gold advantage they needed to. They shut down this Zeri-Zillion combination, and they had the Jinx, right?
They had the Jinx.
My personal bias, it's 100% accurate. The Jinx always wins. I think B1 Jinx is a very powerful pick, so we'll have to see if the priority goes up on that pick because those team fights were very close. Zeri almost was able to do everything. If the Mountain Soul wasn't there, probably was able to pick up some of those lower health members on the enemy team. But the Jinx did finish the team fights, did get excited, did get those resets out, and was able to just clean up the fights when it mattered most.
Yep.
And with that, I think we are going to be hopping to a quick break before we get to the next match. So we will see you when we're back.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Virtuous Triumph series. My name is Matthew Fortner. This is Mason, and we are hopping into Game 2 here shortly of Ohio State versus Virtue Gaming Ambition. Game 1, going over to Virtue.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was a good game. That Jinx got excited. She reset through those team fights like we were talking about. That we've been seeing a lot in competitive games, in my own personal games, is first pick blue side Jinx is powerful. It's the best AD carry in the game, and it makes those close team fights just fall over in your favor if you have it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we saw a lot of that. There are a lot of times where the Zeri looks really powerful, is dealing tons of damage, but people are getting away with fractions of health, slivers of HP. The Jinx finishes that and then finishes the next 3 team members afterwards.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see which sides the teams are on. I don't know exactly who had side selection in the first game, so we'll see into this next game if that sort of goes up in the priority list. As we saw, it was so powerful.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take away from the Zeri-Zillion. It did a lot of work. The Hunt for Value looked a little bit uncomfortable with those ultimates coming out, but the Zeri looked good. It did lots of damage.
And I think they had the right idea, you know, because to stop, you know, that Jinx reset, you pop the Chrono Shift, and hopefully that buys enough time to at least pick up 1 kill and start snowballing the fight that way. But I think what Ohio State kind of forgot is that they were a scaling comp, and they went for too many, you know, early game plays. You had the Gangplank getting picked off early.
Right.
You had a couple plays in the bot lane here or there, and then the early Drake stacking coming out from Virtue. It's just they played the game to win an early game composition, and they didn't have that, and that's, you know, why Virtue was able to snowball the game to themselves.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the Ohio State University decides to go for their sort of weaker side laners, the ones that don't really want to fight. They want to CS, they want to scale. The Gangplank looked good in the early game, right? He built that CS advantage, but then he started getting ganked. The pressure started getting put on, and he started dying a lot, right? I think he totaled 7 or 8 deaths by the end of that game.
Somewhere around there.
He wasn't able to sort of stop the push in the side lane from the Wukong, so I do know Mukub is a Wukong playing himself, so if that sort of goes up a priority, if they feel like that champion needs to be taken away, they have the ability to do so, but the Gangplank is always suspicious. If it's not getting that value, when that game went pretty long, he had 3 or 4 items, right?
Yeah.
If it didn't get enough done then, I don't really see when it gets enough done. So we are going to be hopping into the draft right now. We're going to see what the adaptations come from that first game, because it was a close game. It was a good first game. It seems like that Bard, those magical journeys broke up a lot of those fights. We were talking about how the Zeri wasn't able to finish people. People got away with slivers of HP.
Yeah.
A lot of the time that was because a magical journey took them through a wall and no one could chase.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you go through a wall, there's only really one champion that could follow that, and Zeri can't just dive into 3 people after a magical journey. That's, you know, instant death. So you'll see the Bard band away. You'll see the Ari band away as well from the side of Ohio State. So they're really targeting, like, you know, what beat them in the last game. They do add the Gwen in there as well. Now, meanwhile, from the Virtue side, they are going for 2 bans. They've already, you know, actually all 3 bans are the same. The Graves, the Hecarim, the Thresh.
Confident in their strategy. And we are seeing Ohio State is on that blue side, right? So do they still value the Jinx? They do pick up the blue. Listen, B1 Jinx is the best pick in the entire game. This champion is broken. Riot needs to do something about it. A very common counter pick for it is the Aphelios because it can match in those late game team fights, just the sort of same way that Zeri does.
Yeah.
But, oh man, Jinx is just so much easier to execute, and this champion has the CC setup. So does the Aphelios with the purple gun, but it's less consistent, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So I really, really like the adaptations made, right? Ohio State changed up their bans to the things that were causing the problems, and they lock in B1 Jinx.
B1 Jinx, absolutely crucial teamfight pick. Obviously, the Aphelios counter is pretty common, and you will see the Xin Zhao come out as well. And now Lilia, which is a champion I haven't seen here in a while. She got, buffed around Worlds time, but she's kind of fallen off recently. But, I mean, is Lilia still considered a flex pick? Because I've seen her top and I've seen her jungle.
I am not sure about the current state of Lilia top. I definitely know that BioGamer likes the champion. He is a Hecarim one-trick, and this is another horse,
Yes.
So very comfortable
Horses.
on horse champions.
Yep.
And the Swain early lock-in.
Interesting.
I feel like that's a hunt for value special. I think it's a strange mid lane pick, and he wants to lock it in before the second rotation bans sort of victimize him again like they did in the last draft. So, again, the adaptations from OSU, but we're hovering this Heimerdinger. I'm looking at it. I'm excited about it. It goes to a Lulu. This is why you kept looking at me, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to believe it. I love Heimerdinger.
Oh,
I could
man,
talk about Heimerdinger next 20 minutes, but we get the Lulu, the much more exciting champion locked in instead. But that's sort of the other powerful lane for the Aphelios, right? The more traditional one is the Aphelios Thresh. The Aphelios wants to have that extra mobility, extra dash to get out of team fights. But instead of getting out of team fights, just how about a 400 HP shield and a massive ult knock-up around you to sort of help you win the team fight instead. Don't run away, just win.
Yep. And now it is interesting to see because, obviously Swain's probably more of a support pick. You're thinking it's probably going to value as, a mid lane pick. And we do see, the Zilean banned out. So is Virtue aware of this? If it does end up going mid like you're thinking, this is kind of a great draft idea from Ohio State.
I definitely think that right now in the meta, Swain is a better support.
Yes.
But I don't know, me and my personal relationship with these players, I don't know if I've ever seen Flux play something that's not just a hook champion, to be frank.
That's true, yeah.
He loves playing hook champions, and Swain sort of fits that role. But the hunt for value, we've talked about how his mid lane pool has been getting pinched, and he's sort of a newer mid lane, so picking up one of these champions was a little less common, but still very powerful. Seems very likely to me, at least. But we'll definitely get that confirmed the next couple of picks here.
Yeah.
Rengar, however.
Interesting.
Are they trolling us again? They're trolling us again. I'm not saying anything about a camp till it's locked in.
Oh, Corki's still up. And, I mean, Victor's still up, too. So that's another possibility. We could see the Corki Victor, pretty standard that we've been seeing as well. Obviously, with the Jinx Aphelios, that goes pretty well together.
Yeah, and they're building a very standard but very powerful team fighting composition here. The Lulu sort of keeping everyone topped off, and the Xin Zhao, where in my mind, I consider this champion an early game pick, a good ganker, a good sort of fighter in the early game. But with his new ultimate since the rework a while ago, he just is a great frontliner too. He just says, okay, we're going to front to back, but your backline can't hit me. I can't take damage from them, so good luck winning that with your tank, right? So good into this Jinx to sort of slow down the resets, right? And it looks like we're just going to be fighting a lot. Lots of big team fights, lots of powerful champions here. The Ornn locked in, so is moving away from that Gangplank into something more standard to get into these dragon fights that sort of lost in the game last time.
Yeah, I do like the Ornn pickup, and especially with the Lilia combination. You get that, charge in there from the Ornn. Lock in a few. Tristana. Where's that Tristana?
Okay, so now Tristana is mid lane. Swain is support.
Swain is support. Okay.
Probably. Unless there's some positional flexing going around.
That's too much to think about. It's got to be this. There's not too many options. Now, the Nunu's being hovered here, and it will end up being the Jace. So we will see pretty, standard composition here from Virtue. A little bit of interesting picks from Ohio State. And I'm wondering if, their creativity in this draft, not going with what's meta, is going to pay off in some sort of plan that they have.
Yeah, so if you haven't been here for the past couple of weeks, the hunt for value is an AD carry player. He came from that position, and he's now swapped into the mid lane. He's been here for 2 weeks or so. He's been playing mid lane, trying out new champions. This is an AD carry. He knows how to position in team fights. He knows how to play this. His laning might be a little bit weirder, but as something that can punish a Corki when it tries to roam with a package by just destroying an entire tower with Demolish, that's powerful, and this pick has things that it does. So it'll be interesting to see how he does in a lane without a support, but he is confident on this type of character. So
Yep. And I think that's also, crucial for value. Like, get on something you're comfortable with. Obviously, Corki's going to be a very tough matchup, but you have the Jinx.
Right.
You have the setup in the Lilia and the Ornn. You have Swain that could land some possible roots. Like, you have the tools around you. If you're just able to get the damage in during the team fights, you should be able to get enough. And I think with the AP jungler and the AP support, you're going to have, a lot of opportunity to do so.
The only thing that I'm a bit nervous about for Ohio State's draft here is their only person who can face check in the jungle safely is that Ornn pick in the top lane, right? So if Mukub isn't grouped up, isn't stacked with the rest of the team, playing for a team fight, Lilia's a little nervous hopping into a bush that's blind. She doesn't build nearly as tanky as she used to before. The Swain, until he finishes Azanya's Hourglass, is going to also be very nervous about face-checking these bushes on the support income. So getting the vision control for these objectives is going to be challenging for Ohio State if they're not committing their tank down there. And with a Jace in the side lane, he can pressure the turrets. So it'll be interesting. Honestly, it might be a good game for the Hullbreaker Jace. We haven't seen one this series yet.
Yeah.
But Hullbreaker is a broken item as well. Like this item gives you more stats, even without the passive, even if you're not hunting alone. It's 112% gold efficient.
Yeah.
So with the passive on top of that, that's like 30 or 40 armor and magic resist. It's ridiculously gold effective. So if they're able to put it to value and punish this Ornn pick in the top lane, it'll be definitely worth their while.
Yep. Well, with all that being said, we are going to go to a brief break before we head into this game 2. Virtue up 1-0 in the series. We'll see if Ohio State can bounce back. We'll catch you all shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, we're hopping right into this match. We're back into the Virtuous Triumph series. My name is Matthew. This is Mason. And Virtue up game 1.
Yeah.
And we're into game 2. Already been through draft and setting up for this, bit of an early game. So I think, what are you looking forward to most in this match?
Yeah, so I want to sort of pinpoint. My favorite thing to do right when I hop into a game is look at runes, make sure people didn't pick something weird, something that's going to throw me off. We see the first strikes coming out for both solo laners on Virtue's side. Definitely going to be able to farm that Ornn for a lot of gold. This Jace is going to be scary, right? I don't really think there's another option on the Corki, but it's going to be much harder for him to proc that into Tristana in this lane. And Hunt for Value is going pretty aggressive. He goes the Hail of Blades, and he goes Ignite, right? So he's not trying to match any split push. He's not trying to match any teleport. He's trying to kill somebody and then kill your turret afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of aggressive summoner spells as we see the Exhaust from the Corki and then the Ignite from the Tristana, as you mentioned. But one thing I will bring up as well is we have a spellbook from Ornn.
Yeah.
And that's, at least to me, pretty unusual. Normally you want to go like Grasp of the Undying or something. So it'll be interesting to see what he pulls out with that.
Yeah, into the into the Jace, Grasp is very hard to proc, right? It's hard to get these auto attacks secured on that ranged character if they're playing to their best. So getting some flat value out, and we see him starting without an item. This is a very, very cute little strategy. As we see a little bit of a trade in the bottom lane.
Yep.
But gonna use that Ornn passive, right? So he buys the refillable, so he gets a little bit of extra value, and then once he gets a couple of the last hits in the mid lane, he just crafts his starting item. So
yeah,
very common.
Already value going in.
Level
1 with a W. Interesting selection. He's going to take a lot of damage from the Corki. So maybe not the best trade that you're looking for, but hopefully you'll be able to farm up on minions. He's got the 3 potions to heal up a little bit instead of the refillable, so that should at least sustain him a little bit longer in lane.
Yeah, and that trade was like right on the line, right? He almost had level 2 going in for it. Should have probably waited for that minion to be killed by his own auto attack, but it wants to sort of get it as he leaps forward for that burst, and the minion doesn't die quick enough, so he takes a big chunk of his own HP without committing all the way for that kill, and it's getting ganked now. Tristana dash gets him pretty far.
Oh, that looks like a whiff there from Xin Zhao. He will get a little bit rude. Now the fight in the bot lane as well. Felio's going to get chunked a little bit. Lulu putting in some damage onto blue. Now in the mid lane, Biogamer showed up, and Shotgun Yufan's going to have to get out of there a little bit. Xin Zhao's going to get a little bit of pressure. Biogamer looking for him with the Lilia, and probably stealing away some Raptors, but the level 2 fight, as we see in the spot lane, to get a little bit of poke here. And not too much other than that gonna land. So just, a little bit of trading here. Biogamer's looking back towards the Corki in the mid lane. See if he can do much. No, Corki's just gonna lay a little bit of damage out.
Yeah, and for me, that gank in the mid lane looks really good for Hunt for Value, right? That shows that he's confident on these AD carry picks. He takes the hit from the dash. Yeah, like he uses his dash early, gets dashed on by the Xin Zhao, but he is able to dodge the wind becomes lightning. He's not scared of that ability. He's confident he can just walk out of it and doesn't burn his flash. So.
Yep, and now looks like the Aphelios gets hooked. The Hawkster's going to, or actually it's the Lulu gets hooked, so a little bit of damage onto her, and no summoners being burned yet. So while we have had a couple of opportunities to go in, nothing too heavily committed yet.
Yeah, but it's going to be very important for Fluxatine to keep getting these E's, right? The entire point of this character is to get early game kills, early game pressure. He takes the electrocute, right? So you land the E, you get the pull in, and then you Q for a giant burst of damage. So if you're able to punish the Enchanter in this lane, you're looking good. They don't get to their item fast enough. They're much less impactful than having a second mage in a team fight. But if you start to fall behind on this Swain, suddenly you're a mage with no items in this team fight, with no XP in this team fight, and this Lulu is just pumping out shielding and healing for her 80 carry that's destroying you.
Yep, now BioGamer looks to be hidden. He's going to take a recall, and I mean, I don't think Lokidosi and Hoxter are too aware of this, so BioGamer is going to camp around a little bit. He's got a scuttle he could pick up on the meantime, but now Xin Zhao just kind of camping around the mid lane and providing a little bit of help for Chop and Yafan.
And as we sort of get through this laning phase, as people start to scale, before any sort of kill pressure happens, I want to ask you what you think about the scaling of this game. Who do you favor in the late game? Because for me, it's sort of blurry, right? Like, obviously, the Corki, the Aphelios, the Lulu are going to be great late-game monsters and a good...
Oh, there's the Swain combo you're
Now
talking about. First blood goes over to the Jinx. It was a double root from the Aphelios, and now Flash is traded from Hoxter and Blue. Blue's in a little bit of damage, but the root from Swain's going to secure the double kill for Blue. An absolutely crucial trade in the bot lane. And, I mean, Aphelios kept Flash up. Swain Flash up as well, but obviously Ohio State winning that trade early.
Yeah, and that's the power of the Swain, right? He has so much burst. He gets that Ignite down early, and you didn't take heal, you didn't take cleanse, you took this exhaust, and it's really hard to get value out of the exhaust because there's no one committing on you, right? There's no support that's jumping in, dashing forward, hooking you towards them. It's range. Both of these characters sort of burst you from far enough away that it's hard to use that exhaust effectively. So we see a lot of pressure on the bot side. This Jinx already picking up 2 kills, already get the new quiver and components for her attack speed shoes here, the Berserker's Greaves, and she is going to be very, very threatening.
Yep, and now looks like Hoxter's making his way up towards the top side, although the Orin has level 6 and Lulu has level 4, so not too much danger there, I believe. But it looks like some pings are coming onto the Drake, and obviously with the bot side advantage for Ohio State, it's going to be, if they choose to go for it, and it looks like they will, they're going to have a lot of advantage. Yeah, now, one thing we did miss is the value at least got one plate in the mid lane while Corki was recalling. So a little bit of that Tristana value, as you mentioned, coming out.
Yeah, and it looks like Ohio State's getting a pretty firm lead in this game, right? That Lulu roam not turning into much in the top side, maybe expecting a dive or something up there. I'm not exactly sure what that roam was supposed to do. But you're leaving your Aphelios alone versus a Swain, which is horrifying for that guy. And the wave is pushing away from him. It does look like Ohio State does push that back towards the Aphelios, so he is able to pick up some of that CS. But if they froze there and your Lulu's roaming and the Swain is constantly throwing out these roots to punish you, that's a bad place for an AD carry to be.
Oh, it's terrifying to be in that situation, yeah. Now, one thing I do notice here is that, you know, a little bit of the trades on the top side. Obviously, Jace is out farming the Orin, but actually, as I'm going to get interrupted, another Swain root hits, and now it looks like Loki's going to get an angle as well. Not too much damage traded yet. Obviously, we do have some summoners still up. The exhaust still available for the Aphelios as well. So I mean, the summoners favor Virtue, so not too much pressure here. But I do think, you know, with the added item advantage that you have in the Jinx, if she starts doing damage in these team fights, she's going to get, you know, more and more lethal as the game goes on.
Absolutely. And that's the important thing to focus on, right? Obviously, this blue one Jinx pick is the big focus. It's the early game pick. It's the thing you're locking in. Or not the early game pick, but the early draft pick. It's your highest priority champion in this game right now. And it's putting in work, right? It has the threat on the opponent, and if it gets the gold in the pockets, which is already looking like it's going to, then it can just ruin the team fights. It doesn't really matter what you have on the other side.
Yep. Now, it looks like Chop and Yafan will be able to pick up the blue buff. So a little bit of extra sustain there in lane, and Lulu's just, you know, constantly roaming, leaving Aphelios down there alone, which, as you mentioned, is, you know, pretty dangerous, but fortunately for him currently, Blue and Fluox will go for the recall, so he'll be a little bit safe and, you know, go for a recall himself. Looks like Rift Herald will be started. A bit of trades here. Jace is the only one really defending it so far for Virtue.
On Ohio State if this fight breaks
out. Yeah, the Jace Corki poke combination is going to be pretty crucial.
They're
and now
pretty low.
Yeah, it's
Lulu's here.
It's not the greatest spot to be in. Corki's looking, fires off a rocket, and now Orin's going to 1v1 the Jace, and I don't think Orin wins that 1v1. He'll have to flash away. And then so much zoning. Oh, Bio goes in. Looks like it'll be stolen. Knock up and sleep onto the Xin Zhao, and it won't be much. So, oh, Swain lands a root. onto Chapin Fan. It looks like they will be able to fit off the
excited.
Corki, and the resets are coming out. We got Tristanos jumps and getting excited. That's 2 kills so far. Oh, the knockback from the Tristana is able to get some work done. Gets out of damage, but Aphelios picks up the kill onto Value, and so one ends up dropping for Ohio State eventually, but the double kill by the Jinx and the Tristana.
Yeah, there was
doing
a
lot of
giant
damage.
push and pull there, right, as members sort of flooded in for both sides. Ohio State forced off the objective they start because the Lulu is there. These Lulu roams sort of paying off in that aspect. She gets to that objective first and sort of beefs up her own team to get the poke down. But then the bot lane of Ohio State roams up all the way right there. They march down that mid lane immediately, expecting this objective to be a battle, and they're able to get there, get resets, get really good never move coming out from the Swain to stop the Corki from clearing all of his way into the pit and getting a flash off him. The Jinx is getting some gold. Another thing we talked about, or we didn't talk about yet in this about this team fight is Jinx, when she gets a kill, gets excited, right? Wants to go further.
Yeah.
So does the Tristana.
It's
So
the reset city right there.
you've got 2 champions that if one person on your team falls over, it's just going to annihilate you. They're just going to keep jumping around and running fast and just blowing your entire team up with these 280 carries. So if Ohio State is able to keep really either one of them alive in these team fights, it's going to be really hard for Virtue to play.
Yep, and I mean, keeping them alive hopefully shouldn't be, obviously could be an issue, but with the damage they're going to be doing, it's probably more often than not that they're going to be getting a pick off before, you know, Virtue is able to get one. Because, I mean, we have the 3-0-1 Jinx already building towards her first item, and now looks like, you know, just a bit of trading here on the top side from Ginger and Mookub, so.
Yeah, and in terms of the sort of scaling these compositions, right, I don't think it's a clear-cut answer. I don't think one wins.
Oh, there's one reset. Not going to do much. Rocket missed from Chapin Fan, and Value's just going to farm this out. Lilia, you will not connect.
Always get so nervous about Tristana because sometimes the champions, oh, it's an 80 carry, she's auto-attacking me, but sometimes she turns into an assassin and you just die from full health, right?
Yep.
But what I was saying with the scaling sort of both teams, it's not like one is just outscales the other, right? The Aphelios is fantastic in late game, so is the Jinx. The Swain can get the items in, but the Lulu provides so much value, right? The Corki is a fantastic late game pick, but the Tristana is just an 80 carry in the late game as they're looking for a bit of an aggressive trade.
That's the Moonlight Vigil
Shouldn't
pop
turn
from
into
Aphelios.
anything.
Not too much.
But they sort of want different things, right? It's important that Virtue, at any point in this game, gets the objective first and gets some poke down on the enemy team. There's not really any sustain for Ohio State, right? They don't have a healer to sort of top them up for a team fight as these rockets and these shock blasts come in. So, but Ohio State sort of has the opposite thing. They want to go in and they want to finish a team fight within 10 seconds. They want these resets, these bursts, these kills, the Ornn ultimate and the Lilia ult. Good package to pick the Lilia.
Yeah, Sleep's going to come through from BioGamers. Going to stall the attack for now. Corki won't be able to create too much pressure, and Value's there to back him up. Now this Drake is up. Obviously, Ohio State picked up the first one, and it looks like Virtue's going to try to get the second one. They will pop the Rift Herald in the middle of the river, and so a little bit of trading, but it does not look like BioGamers here to pick up this Rift Herald. TP coming top from the Jace will collect that wave. And now the Rift Herald looks like it's in danger and will get popped before a charge. That's pretty crucial, especially considering turret plates are still up.
And that's sort of what I was talking about there, right? Virtue gets the objective first, gets some poke down, gets a lot of damage on a BioGamer, forces them to reset, and they just secure the objective without that big team fight that Ohio State's looking for.
Yep, now the Ornn ult on the top side, but fighting the boss side as well. Swain's done a lot of damage here.
He's healing a
Fluox
lot.
will pop the stopwatch, and Blue's going to get some damage, but
Big
out of mana.
damage.
Great root from Fluox is going to get one down. Now Captor's going to go in onto the Jinx. Flashes away. Good setup, and looks like...
get excited.
Oh, Jinx can't get excited, and Fluox will fall. And now the ult from Hawkster will be able to save Captor. So 1-for-1 trade in the end, but you know, you did pop the 80 carry for the support, so I'd say that's pretty worth.
1-for-1 in a 2 versus 3, and it was on a knife's edge. Jinx almost got a lot more done there, right? But the Xin Zhao's able to get in range of the Lulu for the shielding for the ultimate to keep him alive. But if Xin Zhao died there, Lulu was dying too. She had no HP. She was falling over. And it very, very good play from the Swain there, right? He uses the stopwatch, the combination with the ultimate to sort of heal up, right? Stay alive and build space until he finds another never move onto the Aphelios to root him in and finish him off. But yeah, played really well from the 2v2 from Ohio State there to win that 2 versus 3 and just build their advantage even more. This Jinx on a full item is massive.
Oh, absolutely. Jinx already got the Gale Force purchased, and we see 2 turret plates down in the mid lane, picked up by Value. He's using that Tristana pick to get turret plates actually in Corky's face earlier. So it looks like Value and Bio working their way down to this bot side, and they will be able to get some more turret plates on the bot side as well, as they got 4 members strong.
They want to knock
they
this
actually
down.
They might get the entire turret. I'm not sure they get
still plating
before the plating, and now Muko just left alone here on the top lane, but not too much pressure from the Jace. He's able to wave clear.
It's so close.
And
Hit it. Hit it harder.
They didn't quite get the last turret plate, but they do get first turret of the game. And so a good coordinated effort to send all 4 down, but obviously you got the flip side of that. Now Corky's looking to take this mid lane turret, and Hawkster's there to back him up. So with 3 creeps, you should be able to knock this down, right? Or no,
it's
you
hard.
won't.
It's hard to get it done. It's hard to get it done, and the entire team is rotating there, so it's hard to greed when like without plates to grab off of that turret. It's hard to sort of commit to it just to knock the map open, especially if you're gonna die and not get it maybe. So
yeah.
Something really important is this Jinx not only is fed, but is almost up 40 CS.
Yes.
This Jinx is a monster. This champion's going to deal so much damage, and like we've been saying basically all night, is once you get that first kill, you can tear up the rest of the team fight.
Yep, double ults pop. Muko will pop his ult in return for Captors, and now Captors looking to get away. Tristana trying to get some resets with the bomb, and will be able to pick off one. Doesn't look like too much is going to follow up. Swain ends up picking the kill in the end. But a good one for 0, and they could be setting up here for Rift Herald should they choose. A lot of low health bars, specifically on BioGamer. So it looks like not too much setup.
Yeah, and we get to see sort of a capture showing us that Xin Zhao has the durability of a frontliner. That was 5 members of Ohio State committing, what, 3 ultimates and tons of damage to kill this guy, and they almost didn't get it. He had to turn around and look for his own fight for them to be able to get that kill secured. So
yeah,
this Xin Zhao is going to be strong, and speaking of strong, that's so much damage out of the Corky.
Oh my
Even though this champion's been nerfed, even though he took a win rate hit, when he gets items, he will make you dead.
Yep, Value's looking for this angle. He gets hit with a shock blast, drops the ignite, and the bomb just deletes the Jace off the map. That is so much damage in such a short amount of time. The mid lane turret will fall, but Value getting stacked in the side lane.
Yeah, we were talking about that Tristana just suddenly looking like an assassin sometimes. This Jace, this is the early game champ. He's got the Eclipse. He's building lethality. He's supposed to be able to brawl people. He bullies top laners all game. This Tristana is just an AD carry, building AD carry items, and just runs up and one-shots you. That makes sense. That's how the game should be.
May as well. So we do see Mythic starting to come online. Obviously, Corky going for the mana first. But the Stridebreakers in Zhao is something we've been seeing, more and more pop up. And so choice there by Captor to go with that to at least try to slow down some of the enemies in the team fights, which specifically if you get that on to the Jinx or the Tristana even, obviously the Tristana can still jump away if you have that ability still up. But that Stridebreaker could be really crucial in shutting down
a lot of
Jinx.
movement-focused champions for Ohio State here, right?
Yes,
the resets coming out for the Jinx once she gets excited, tons of movement speed. The Lilia stacking up the Q passive. You slow her down, lock her down. It's a great champion to be able to pick. The Swain sort of needing to waddle his way forward even though he doesn't get any speed. If you slow him down, he can't really threaten your backline nearly as well. So
yeah,
definitely a good item this game. It'll be interesting to see if he puts it to good use, because at this point, the gold is getting very in favor of Ohio State, and it's on the important members, right? There's bounties on all 3 of these champions that we wanted to get ahead in the early game, right? This Tristana, absolutely going to be a monster. This Jinx we've talked about all night is going to be a monster. And the Swain, sort of on the curve of a mid laner, it's important for him to get ahead so he can pretend like he's a mid lane. He can do that role playing. And right now, he's got more items than a mid laner, so is definitely able to be strong, be able to frontline, and be able to burst people down. And talk about burst people down.
Tristana. Oh, flash away from the Ornal, but it's not going to do much. Syndra will drop again. Tristana pulling that assassin out of her flash. Oh, flash in from somewhere. I think it was... No, flash in from Swain doesn't end up amounting to anything, but it looks like this Rift Herald will go down for the side of Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, they're stacking up the dragon. It's arguable whether or not they outscale, but this is going to be a critical fight at this next dragon. It's a little bit ways away, but Corky's going to have to get a lot of work done beforehand because Jace is struggling a bit. But they have to get probably Ohio State to half health before a fight starts to even have a chance, because I very heavily favor Ohio State's team fighting, probably just if it's a straight up 5v5, just out of draft. With this kind of gold in the hands of these members, it seems really, really challenging for Virtue to find the angle back into it. But, you know, we've seen Mr. 200 Years do dumber things than win a team fight, right? So.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you have that advantage. You said you wanted to get them to half health. You have the Jace poke. You have the Corky poke.
Right.
You just keep laying into them. You're going to have to force Ohio State to come to you at some point. Obviously, they have the engage options, but at some point, you just try to, stall as long as you can. Now, one thing I am noticing in terms of item paths, we have both Swain and Lilia on the Leandries, and I'm not sure those stack, because that was kind of a recent debate topic in the LCS. So, interesting build path from Ohio State, but obviously most of your damage is going to be coming from the Tristana and Jinx.
Yeah, and the Lilia, obviously, with her passive, sort of wanting to build that a lot.
Yes.
The Swain probably could have pivoted away from that, but if you're less confident, you don't play as many Swain games as we. Flux is more of a hooked champion and more of an engaged player, and Swain sort of filled those roles, but if you're less confident on it, it's hard to be confident in switching up the build path, right? So I don't hate it that much. I don't think it's that bad.
It's not terrible.
Yeah.
And I mean,
it's cost effective, right? It's
yes.
still going to be doing its damage. It's still going to be powerful. The Swain gets the extra health to sort of beef up and burst people down.
Yeah.
Honestly, this Swain could probably 1v1 a lot of the members of the enemy team right now.
He really could, yeah. And I mean, one thing we were talking about, obviously the Rotharo's going to drop this turret here. A little bit of poke coming out from the Corki and a fight over on the side of the jungle as well. Biogamer trying to push forward, not do too much. Rothairo will get the charge on the second turret, I believe. And now Orin looking to 1v1 the Aphelios. Aphelios has to flash away. And I mean, Orin's a tank. He should not be 1v1ing the Aphelios. Jinx Rocket, I believe, will miss. And now Lulu shows up to help the Aphelios as well. So just a little bit more poke here from Chapinha. And so, well, he got the second charge onto the tier 2 turret. Not too much comes from that.
Like we were saying, if Mukub isn't at the objective, it's going to be hard for Ohio State to sort of face check in, get vision control beforehand. It's almost impossible for Virtue to do that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Who on this team wants to be the first person face checking into maybe the burst of the Swain, maybe this crowd control of the Ornn, maybe 2 of these AD carries just wailing on you, right? So it's really hard for Virtue to get into this jungle. It's hard for them to get the vision control so they can get the poke down first, right? They have to be there first.
Yep.
And right now, it's hard for them to be there at all, let alone be there in first and get this poke down, right? So these team fights are going to get really complicated for Virtue to play. Might just have to shove down mid and try to find an angle that way.
Absolutely, yeah. And I do think, front to back in a team fight composition, I still favor Ohio State. You have the Ornn ultimate for the setup. You have the Tristana jumping in. You have the Jinx getting excited with 1 kill. Tristana going. Actually, so much damage from the Jace, but it's not going to end up being enough. Tristana will pick up the kill value. Picking off Jace for the 3rd time this game. That's 3 deaths for Jace. 3 deaths, 3 kills.
And you're a lot more nervous that time.
Oh,
yes.
The
hunt for value, right? That Jace damage, as he's finished his man immune, is upgraded. That's scary. That guy almost one-shot you, but he's able to live it, and he's able to burst back. And this Tristana is going to be almost as threatening as this Jinx. I am scared for team fights, and Virtue takes an honest one.
Yeah, meanwhile, Chapinha is doing so much damage with these rockets. He got Swain to half health with 1 red rocket, I believe. So a lot of, pokes still going to be coming out from the side of Jace and Chapinha, but you can't really poke a Tristana who's on top of you. Obviously, you could try, and it's going to chunk her down to a decent amount of health, but the attack speed from the Tristana is just always going to outdo the Jace.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that Ohio State's sort of playing this 1-3-1 style. Even though we favor them so heavily in these team fights, they're still able to push, right? Tristana's still a threat on the side lanes, can knock down a turret if left alone for even a little bit. And the Ornn is able to apparently box all of these champs. He almost dives the Aphelios, makes him use his flash, right?
Yeah.
So, definitely threatening.
He's got the possible angle onto the Corki, but Mukub's just going to dash himself into the wall immediately, so not too much is going to come of that.
He bonks his head on his own pillar. He was going for the slow. It
just hurts a little bit. So we have this Drake in 1 second. It will be picked up soon. Mukub just doing so much zoning, trying to 1v1, but now it's not a 1v1, it's a 1v5. And so a little bit of damage. Lilia's already picked up the dragon.
Just dead.
It's just, you were talking about face checking. Mukub's solo face checking, and he's not even close to dead.
Yeah,
I'm not even sure he popped Chemtank.
And it hurt Mukub's heart a little bit. There was some emotional damage from him bonking his head on that pillar, looking a little silly. But that's the only kind of damage you can deal to Mukub right now, because he's not taking any physical, he's not taking any magical damage from these champions. He's bulky on this Ornn right now.
Yep. So we do see, Turbo Chemtank for the Ornn is going to make him super speedy. I'm not sure how well that plays into engages, but obviously, getting there in time. Oh my gosh!
You get both.
Corki just goes in. He's going to be able, flash away from Jinx. Second rocket will be able to finish off Blue, and so Chapinha with a crucial double kill.
Mid laner.
But now here comes Tristana, gets exhausted, won't decide to jump in, and probably the wise decision is it's not, guaranteed you're going to be able to jump out.
Looking to get behind Tristana here. It might be playable.
Tristana's got to make a decision. There pops the blue ward.
Teleport, too.
Oh, this is dangerous, but actually Tristana
trying to make her way.
Oh, but here comes Orin. Flash from Tristana. Polymorph by Lulu, and there's the ult from Aphelios. Biogamer gets picked off solo by Champagna, and so it's kind of a meltdown from Ohio State as 2 kills go over to Virtue, and that actually puts them in the gold lead.
Yeah, and there's no carries to win this team fight. There's no jungler to stop the smite.
And
you got
Baron.
280 carries on the Baron. This is playable. Virtue's ahead in gold now. Mukub looking for a miracle play. Has the smite, so this is nervous.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
You have a Jinx Rocket to work with too.
Need vision though. They can't see. Flux is going in just to get vision.
Flux. Oh,
you
can't 1v1 that guy.
It's going to be blind.
Baron's on 4,000 health.
They see him.
Can you see it
They're
if you go
all
through
low.
the portal?
They're stunned.
One stun. Oh,
He's
Mukub
in.
flashing in. Going in, a lot of damage.
He gets
oh
it!
My goodness, Mukub steals the Baron, and now Blue
Jinx is here.
Not excited just yet. A lot of low health bars though.
Oh,
a lot of damage.
that's
Oh,
one.
gets the snipe. Excited, but I don't think there's enough to chase. Ginger will fall, but the Baron buff stolen away by Mukub, and unfortunately 2 dead for Ohio State. But 3 Baron buffs on Jace, or on Jinx, Tristana, and Lilia. That's such a huge win for Ohio State.
Obviously an overstun for Ohio State to get picked off to set that play up, but once they're put in that situation, Mukub and Blue played that fight perfectly, right?
Oh my gosh,
He was nervous that whole time, throwing Qs in, trying to get vision, trying to know how much % health this Baron has, but once he flashes in, he gets the vision. The entire team is so low for Future, they can't kill this Orb. We were talking about it. He's taking no damage, and they're able to time up. It actually was really, really nice because the Zap came in to get the Baron below that smite range, and he timed it perfectly with his own Jinx to finish off that objective. So, beautifully done. Mukub using that spell book that we maybe weren't as confident in at the start. We wanted the grasp, but
hey,
looked real good right there.
It really did. Yeah, and I think the beautiful part about that seal is, I mean, Orin jumps in. There's still 2K health left on the on the Baron. His smite only does 450 because, I mean, it was the small spike.
Okay, the way Smite interacts with Spellbook is, I think it's after 2 swaps of Spellbook, it automatically gets upgraded. So
okay, so
I believe that
900.
was a 900 damage Smite. He didn't just destroy the enemy jungler, but
it sounds more impressive when you say
sure,
450. So now Orin looking for the angle again. He's going to try to knock up the Aphelios, and the Gale Force in from Blue, going to do a lot of damage, but it's not going to do too much. Jinx Rocket won't be able to finish it off, and so Chamiya able to escape. Burning Flash, but still a good angle, and you're going to be able to push in this Baron buff here in the bot lane as well.
Yeah, and they're resetting now. They want wards. They want to get all the gold out of their pockets and into their hands. Because right now, this action has been distracting us. Soul is spawning, and it is Soul for Ohio State.
Oh, and this
Hextech Soul is disgusting with Jinx. The giant AoE slows to sort of set up your rockets. It just makes a mess of a team fight. So if they're able to get this, it's going to be very hard for Virtue. It already has been hard for Virtue to find an angle on these plays. And with the Soul, it's almost just doomed. But we'll see if they're able to get in now. It's going to be hard. We see a couple more resets from Ohio State, but Virtue doesn't. So they're playing for this mid wave. They're trying to just get in from the river, and this is what you do. If you're behind, if you don't have vision, you can't walk through a jungle, especially into the enemy team from Ohio State. So you just take 5 members, you push up mid, you lose some side lane pressure, and you try to get some wards back.
Yep, it doesn't look like, I mean, sideways going up, and now the root on to Hogster. Going to do a lot of damage. Jinx Rocket will miss, but that's not too high of a cooldown. The Rocket from Chomedy not going to do too much just yet. The second one will miss as well. Biogamer can't land the E, so a little bit of stall out, but so far Virtue in the better position, although the recall force from Lulu does make them back away. Are they giving Soul?
This is the kind of fight that you want from Virtue, right? They got some poke down. They've got some rockets. They got in there first. They sort of found the angle, but Ohio State doing a great job of getting onto the objective. They flanked all the way back around through the bot side, and now they're positioned in the river.
Yeah.
And Ornn is on the flank. They might be able to find a nice ultimate here.
Yep, and I think the problem with Ornn being on the flanks is that you got no one to block all these, poke coming in from the Jace Corki combination. So a little bit of split from Ohio State. Ornn will work his way around and look for a front-to-back team fight as they both try to get this Soul.
At this point, the wave in the top side is pushing for Virtue, right? They have a little bit of threat in these side lanes, so slowing this down, getting some poke applied, it's very good. Even the green gun for the Aphelios able to help out. Good. Never move onto the Jace.
Swainward on the side now.
Coming out.
Ornn going in, whiffs the second part of the ultimate. And now flash in for the Lilia going in. Hits the sleep beforehand, and now Mukub getting a lot of damage as well. Jinx getting excited. A couple of kills picked up.
Close.
Corki will drop. Aphelios will drop. Lulu will drop, and it's only Captor left alive, and he will fall eventually. 3 alive for the side. The triple kill for blue. Ohio State will get Soul, and they will push in bot lane.
Yeah, and that was a well-executed team fight, right? They hadn't fought in a while. All the summoners, all the defensives were available for Virtue, so they sort of had to play this team fight in layers. The Auron ulti gets the Gale Force active away from the Aphelios, and then it sort of opens up BioGamer to get a fantastic flash Q in to set up his ultimate, get the sleep down, and finish the team fight as the Swain and the Jinx get to follow up and clean up the fight.
Yep. Now they do have 2 waves working for them. Fluox just kind of shoving in the single cannon actually in the mid wave, but they will have to be forced to reset as the death timers are expiring from the side of Virtue. And now it looks like someone will go fix the top wave as well. So, you know, just a little bit of stall out action. You have the Soul. You're going to do a lot of damage in these team fights.
Yep.
And, I mean, if you're Ohio State, you just wait for the next opportunity and then run it over. And it should be in about a minute with Baron.
Right, Baron is spawning, so they're going to have to be, Virtue's going to have to be in a position to fight right now. And they just respawn, so it's so hard to get this war control.
Yep.
Great poke coming out of the Swain, sort of wanting the Xin Zhao wanting to go back to base now. He wants to some help, but he doesn't have the opportunity to. We were talking about how annoying the slow could be for the Xin Zhao against Ohio State with that active on the Stride Breaker, right? But now the entirety of Ohio State has slows on everything, right? With this Hextech Soul sort of static shivving around to people, slowing them all down. It's going to be very problematic. They get a little bit of a bounty back with the teleport available on Jace, right? He can threaten a little bit, but I'm pretty sure he just loses a 1v1 to the Ornn right now, to be honest.
I mean, it's kind of tough, but it seems like a lot of people might end up losing a 1v1 to the Ornn right now if he plays it correctly. He's got the Turbo Chem tank upgraded. He's got upgraded items on Tristana and Jinx as well. So those are going to be doing a bit more damage as well.
Yeah, and that's another aspect of this scaling we've tried to mention before is the Ornn items. He's hit that level 15. He's got both of those hyper carry ADCs with those infinity edges. They've got charged up mythics too. So I'm trying to find an angle for a Virtue. What does Virtue need to do to get back into this, to win these fights? It has to be just tons of poke coming out of this Corki. A package in inventory, so they might go to force it. They might
it might be on BioGamer right now, and Chamia going in. He's going to get belted by the Tristana. BioGamer will drop, and that is the smite down for the side of Ohio State. But I don't think they're going to be able to push as Jace is down in the bot lane. Does have teleport, but it's too risky to go in without probably your most damage dealer.
It's so hard to force, right? You lose your Corki. It's just, you can't do anything, right? Even if it's 3v3, even if there's no smite, it's hard to finish off an objective.
Oh, and Hawkster gets deleted in the side lane. Ornn forces the flash out from Jace. And now, as we were saying, the 1v1 from the tank, he melts Ginger. Looks like Ohio State will get the mid lane turret and the mid lane inhibitor. And they just melted the team fight on the backside. We were busy watching a tank destroy, you know, a pretty heavy damage dealer. And Ohio State looks like they're going to take game 2 pretty strongly, and they will go into a game 3. We're headed the distance. Both these teams, as we mentioned, headed for that second place, and it's going to come down to the last match.
There were a ton of great plays across the entire map, fantastic early aggression, but obviously none of that matters because one of the teams first pick Jinx, right?
First pick Jinx.
B1 Jinx is all that matters. That's the only thing that goes on. That's the only thing that there is in League of Legends. So B1 Jinx, there's no other analysis that needs to be done. We've done it all.
Yep. Well, I think we will be heading to a brief break as we wait for these teams to get ready for Game 3. Should be an exciting one. Hope you stick around. We'll see you shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're going to be hopping into Game 3 shortly in between Ohio State and Virtue Gaming. This one's been exciting so far.
It's been a really good series, and I think a lot has come down to draft, right? And we're about to hop right into draft and see what's going on, but the draft adaptations Ohio State made from the first game seem to completely change the entire tone of the game, right?
Absolutely.
All of their players seem more comfortable. The hunt for value, going for much more aggressive plays than something like the Zillion was able to provide. The B1 Jinx obviously being the entire reason they won the game. Nothing else was important. But so the early aggression from the Swain, the comfort champion of the Lilia for BioGamer there just looks great, right? So it'll be interesting to see which team is on blue side for that first pick Jinx that we're talking about, but as well as a lot of the other picks, right?
Yes, yeah. I think that Tristana putting value on something that he's comfortable on. He was able to run over some of the early game, and it looks like Ohio State will be on the blue side again. So they have the opportunity to get that B1 Jinx, and I don't think after game 1 they're looking to pass up on it. So we'll see how the bans come out. I probably would expect the same 3 bans out of Virtue, but if they had to like choose a champion to, you know, not ban instead and then choose a different ban, what would you select?
It would definitely be like that Graves that they've been banning out. I think that's a little bit strange, right? I don't know if that's been a big pick for BioGamer recently or if it's been a big pick for Mook Up. They do elect to lock that in again, so the other two bans seem more necessary to me, at least. Like Fluxatine's he self-proclaimed Thresh one trick, BioGamer very confident on Hecarim, so we might see another B1 Jinx this game. Something important that happened in the last draft, right, was the adaptation of we want Hunt for Value's pick early, right? We want to pick that on B3. They do ban the Jinx, so the Thresh is still available. I don't know if it'll be a first pick because there are some pretty powerful counters to that champion, but I definitely know Flux wants it.
Yeah, what do you pick here first then? It's probably an Aphelios.
Zeri or an Aphelios.
I feel like it's an Aphelios angle if you're comfortable on it.
If you take the Zeri, you give Aphelios Thresh, right?
Yes.
So if they're not picking the Thresh here, it most likely will get taken from them. They do take the Aphelios, and then something like a Zeri Thresh maybe, but then you give the Aphelios Lulu. This is very interesting how this draft sort of turned now that B1 Jinx is off the table.
Yep. So obviously Thresh being on the table is, you know, the only really change from this draft and the last draft in the banning phase. Now the Jhin actually being selected. So immediately answering the ADC. I think Jin's also a pretty strong pick right
definitely
now.
Not weak, but I definitely think he's a step down in the tier list. I think things like the Aphelios, the Zeri, the Caitlyn even are more powerful than the sort of shorter range, more bursty champion. And you sort of have to build around it from other things. Something like a Viego, maybe the Xin Zhao, with some more consistent physical damage. They take the Lilia.
Interesting.
That's a lot of priority on knocking BioGamer down. That's very interesting. That maybe that engage seems so threatening, but they give the Thresh to Flux. They give Aphelios Thresh, a really powerful bot lane combination.
Yep. So I mean, this is being hovered right now, but you can almost assume this is being locked in, unless. Are we waiting?
This is insane.
There's no way.
What?
There's no way. They just passed on Thresh?
Okay, that's really interesting. So they value the sort of kill threat in this bottom lane. He really thinks the Swain is powerful, and it got a lot of work done last game. It got them ahead. He's hovering Aurelion Sol.
This has to be a hover.
Certainly. Certainly, this man who just switched to mid lane is never locking in that champion.
And you have to think they're going for a jungle pick here because you already see the Lilia, and they will lock in the Nocturne.
But this is something that happened last game, right? Last game, it was so important to get an early pick for the Hunt for Value so he doesn't get banned out. The problem in the first game, they sort of knocked the Hunt for Value a newer mid lane with a smaller pool. They get those two second rotation bans. They threw them both at him, and then he seemed a lot less effective. This game, not locking in his pick, something similar might happen. So,
well, I mean, what happened last game is they had the Swain in the first round of the draft, and then they elected for the Tristana later. So they could be doing the same thing here. Thresh is still on the table, as it looks like the Leona is locked in. For the side of Virtue.
That is a good point.
It'll be interesting to see what bans come through here.
We did think that the Hunter Value might pick up the Swain, and that might be what's running now. If they double ban mid lane here, and they're able to just pick a blue 4 Thresh, they get that powerful bot lane anyway, just because they threatened the Swain pick as a support pick, and then they play it mid lane. That's a ton of extra value, right? They got that pick for their mid laner. They threw these bans away, and bans against nothing because they already have the champ locked in. That's why so much of the meta right now are these flex pick champions. It makes drafts so much harder if you don't know where something's going.
Yeah, and we will see the Corki banned out from the side of Ohio State. Obviously, a lot of damage done by Corki in that game, and it was probably like the heaviest damage dealer. So
for sure,
interesting pick off, and they will ban the Gangplank on the side of Virtue, so still a bit of respect given there. Not
really wanting to fall into the trap of last game, right? Or the trap of double banning mid lane if that Swain is going to go to the mid lane. So they split their assets, you know, that's good advice. So they put a little bit into the top lane.
And one thing that I forgot is when they banned the Corki, they left open the Yone, and so Yone will be locked in. You can only, well, that is technically a flex. That could go mid or top.
Always a flex. Everything's a flex.
Everything's a flex, always. And now the Vex being hovered, so it looks like, I mean, we've seen value on Vex.
That's one of the champions he's more comfortable on. And it's sort of a dive buddy for this Nocturne. So those champions are able to go forward and go forward hard. On the thing like the Jhin, sort of, that guy's terrified if he ever casts his ultimate.
Oh, and the Shen as well to possibly provide more shielding after that dive and, you know, get into the fight himself. Although I'm not sure how well it pairs with the Aphelios and Swain. I do like the top 3 from Ohio State.
Yeah, they definitely, I think the Swain here is a very odd piece of this puzzle. I think if you just provide a little extra peel for your AD carry here with the Thresh pick, this draft makes a lot more sense. But they put Mook Up on a tank. They gave him something comfortable. The Vigar last pick here.
Vigar's going to go into the mid lane, and it will be the Yone top. So a lot of interesting matchups here.
Yeah, this draft just got weird. This draft just went completely different from the last games. You banned B1 Jinx, and then no one plays standard. We're all playing random kill lanes. The bot lane of Jin Leona is very threatening for something like the Aphelios. And the sort of the Lilia priority that skyrocketed in this game, very interesting. Vigar, probably a counter pick into this Vex, right? I don't think you're targetable while you're ulting as Vex. So I don't think the cage would stop you.
I don't think it would. Yeah, you're pretty much unstoppable in that. So
not sure about how this mid lane's going to go. Definitely Vigar is a powerful tool to sort of peel some of the other champs on the team, right?
Yes.
Create some space for this Jhin while he's being dove on. Create some space for the Lilia to run around, the Leona to lock people down who sort of are trapped within that cage. So can get a lot of work done, but both of these drafts are strange. A lot of comfort picks is what it seems like coming out. A lot of things like, I know that I can win lane as Swain.
Yes.
So I'm locking it in right now because I think I'm a better player than you are.
Yep. And I think that's kind of the general consensus on what this draft was, with maybe the exception of the Shen pick. Obviously, Shen with one of the few champions who's able to get bot lane pre 14 minutes, and I think that could be crucial. Should like Aphelios or Swain get one of those roots in place, start diving the Jhin and the Leona and go like as fast as you can once that level 6 is reached. Now the Yone and the Vigar, however, those are very 1v1, stay in your lane, like
right
try
now.
to
I'm trying to look into my mind's eye. I'm trying to process who I think wins at different stages of the game. Right? Who wins the first dragon fight? It's so hard for me to tell. They just like. Maybe the Nocturne wanting to scale to 6, but the Lilia wanting to do the same thing. It's this fight, or these team compositions are so evenly matched in my mind at the different stages of the game, right? Because Vigar helps carry in the late game, but Aphelios is going to be a monster in the late game. Early game team fights with the Jhin, he has so much utility, so much effect from a long range, but the Vex does the same thing, right?
Yep.
So it'll be very interesting. The one thing is going to be that sort of top lane pressure. How is that going to work?
Yep.
Is Yone to be able to get a lead? Or is it going to be a thing where Yone's trying to get to a team fight while Shen can just sort of park himself in that lane and get extra minions, get extra turret pressure in that side lane? So I think that's where I am going to focus to see where the balance of this top lane filters to, but their pressure can be anywhere this game.
Yeah, it's really a battle of the lanes. It's a battle of who ends up winning these team fights, obviously, and it's going to be a lot of skill, and we'll see how which team comes up on top. But we will throw it to a quick break as we wait for the teams to get into the lobby. We'll see you all shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Victoris Triumph Series. We have Ohio State against Virtue Gaming Ambition, and we are hopping into Game 3. Both these teams able to take one game so far in the series, and this one will decide who comes away as the temporary second seed.
Yeah, and we've had a really good set of games so far, right? 2 close ones, 2 sort of competing draft ideas that sort of went the distance in the past 2 matches. Both times, Jinx won. But this game, it's a mystery.
Jinx.
There's no Jinx. We don't know who's going to win from Champ Select. There's something going on. So it'll be very interesting. Due to how the draft sort of went down, a lot of these champs have sort of stepped away from the meta and stepped more into comfort picks and takeaway picks from the opposing team. So it's very interesting to see how this game is going to go. It's going to be a lot more lane-focused, I think. Let's do my favorite thing and start with the runes on both sides and the summoner spells. Just take a look at everything.
Yep.
Makes a lot of sense. The more defensive rune, the Fleet Footwork on the Jhin. Something that I think you're noticing is the Predator Vigar.
The Predator on the Vigar.
This has become the norm. This champion sort of not a great laner. Kind of have to play defensively. As you see, Hunt for Value just walking up for an auto attack trade.
Oh, already got the fear as well. A lot of trading back and forth, and looks like they're both going to settle for being at half health and pop some potions. Obviously, Vigar elected to go for the corrupting potion, so he's going to get a little bit of health regen, probably a bit more.
That's what I was going to say. Is I'd like that trade a lot, but you're playing against the corrupting pod Vigar, so it looks pretty bad.
There's
more
the electrocute on the Jhin as well.
Of Luxatine. But yeah, this Predator Vigar, pretty weak in the mid game normally, right? He wants to be stacking those infinite stacking passive, but if you just don't lane during the mid game, you just wander on down bottom lane, you wiggle your way down, and then you just one-shot someone, it helps you sort of scale back in. And as silly as it feels to hear Predator Vigar, once you see this tiny little man with the cage sprinting at you at Mach 10, it's very scary.
Oh,
so,
man.
In terms of other summoner spells to point out, we see the Cleanse for OSU Blue, not able to take that more aggressive exhaust, but with Leona on the enemy team, it's almost certainly the correct choice, as well as the sleep able to dodge out of that one. So a good summoner spell choice there, but maybe a little bit less pressure in the bot lane.
Yeah.
But in terms of pressure in that bottom lane, without a Lulu next to you, the poke from the Swain, if you get hit by one of these E's, hits much harder and it sticks to you, right? Absolutely. You're not going to be able to stand up. So they're going to have to find their own engage, their own play in the bottom lane.
Yep. And I do think another thing to notice on summoner spells, we see, you know, 2 TPs on the side of Virtue. We see the Ignite coming out from Value, and obviously the Shen has a TP in of itself, but it doesn't elect to go for the summoner spell. It goes for the Ignite instead. So hopefully, you know, a little bit more kill pressure on that Shen once he gets involved in these team fights using that Ignite. But in terms of cross-map awareness, if Virtue can play their teleports to their advantage and keep pushing those side lanes with the Veigar, with the Yone, it could lead to a pretty big advantage for him.
Yeah, and that's something to note. If you don't play top lane, if you've never laned against a Shin, a lot of people might think, oh, this guy is a supportive character. He's got a bubble, he blocks auto attacks, he TPs down to help his teammates. His hit hurts bad. If you get a Q through an enemy champion, you get the extra attack speed, and you start dealing giant chunks of their maximum health, but the good baby cage.
Yep, Value's in a little bit of trouble. Gets the flash out. Now Nocturne going in for the fear.
Good flash
oh my gosh, Captor goes for the dive. Might get a double. Biogamer flashes in as well. Veigar going to do a lot of damage, and Biogamer's just going to stand in it, so it ends up being a 2-for-1. Captor with first blood, and Veigar able to clean up the second kill.
For an engaged bottom lane.
Now going in, it's level 3. The level 3 leveled up, and now Loki will get ignited. Looks like Leona's going to be able to disengage a little bit. Blue get a lot of damage down as well. Blue's still firing, and obviously Leona's not going to be the main damage dealer, and so Blue still being in this bush, still firing. No ward from the red side. It's only up to the minions to be able to spot him out. And Fluox looking for those roots, looking to pull in anyone that he can still.
Yeah, and this bot lane is going to be constant action, almost certainly. Leona has to continually pull the trigger, because if she's not going in and trading health, one of these E's is going to land, and you see one landing right there, and now it's really hard for Loki to trade.
Yeah, and I do want to point out the cleanse and the ignite were used from the side of Ohio State, so Leona all that much more pressure, but the flash used from Jhin immediately afterwards looked like Fluox was going to get that root down, and so has to flash away as they're both very low. So a lot of pressure here in the bot lane, but here comes the Veigar, here comes the Predator, and now Leona going in, double root or double
He's waddling.
Oh, Fluox is going to pick up one. Now the Jhin is in a little bit of trouble. Fluox is going to try to finish off one, but won't be able to, as Aphelios shot first, and Swain just doesn't do enough damage. Now Value alone in the mid lane, but he's going to fight Lilia here. Captor gets a lot of damage taken from that. And now just, you know, a bit of trading up in the top side. So Veigar already 2 kills, 2 assists. He's gotten ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and we were talking about the Predator, and we were a little bit confused, right? We're not sure how this rune's going to work. He showed us. He brought it in.
Oh, no, and there's another kill. Vex just gets deleted the cage. It's too much from Veigar, and there's 3 mid lane now. What are you going to do if you're Vex with no flash trapped inside that?
Yeah, it's just so hard. This Veigar gets so much value, and I think a lot of people underestimate the early game damage and the early game power of that cage. Speaking of early game damage, we're going under the turret.
The Yone gonna have to flash away. Ignite ticking, will get killed off by the minions. Shen survives, and Nocturne killed Lilia in the background. How did Ohio State come out on top of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's just a giant overextend from Virtue, right? The Yone thing, he's got the burst damage, but the shield there coming out from the Shen, the Ignite to tick him down outside of the turret range. It's just a lot of the damage. So another reason why this Shin is a powerful pick into the Yone is he can block the Q as well as the auto attacks with that W, with that barrier that he has. And then as Yone is going for the dive, he's trying to get some support from his Lilia, expecting another team member there. But Lilia gets caught out, right? Lilia gets caught, Capture gets caught out by Biogamer as she runs to the jungle to help and just dies herself because she had to blow that flash earlier for the first level 1 play.
Yep, so crucial fight turnaround in the top side for Ohio State is that did not go their way. It was going to look pretty dire for them. He'd much rather be 4-5 than 2-7.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And they now are still down 1,000 gold. So if they didn't pick up those 2 kills, it would have been almost 2K at 7 minutes. With this comfort sort of champ draft, not really an advantage, not really real team fight identities from either team. But speaking of fight, there's a fight going on in the bottom lane.
There's
Drowsy coming out.
Coming in from the Jazzy, and Blue is just screwed here. His teleport from Shen isn't going to come through as he gets killed in time. Now Nocturne diving and gets stopwatch, and a little bit of kills there. Fluox picks up one. Biogamer looking for Capture now.
Soon.
He's got enough of a health bar if he can find it. Now the Lilia dives in, won't do enough. And Hawkster, I don't think he does enough damage. If Biogamer can chase him down, he'll get the kill. But Shen fighting Yone on the top side. No ult's up for either of them, but Yone's landing the Q and he's going to do a lot of damage. If Shen might get the damage down, he gets the taunt. Now Biogamer's caught out by the Predator Vigar, and there's the shutdown onto him. Vigar is so strong right now.
Yeah, and we're seeing all of these runes like show their strength, right? The Predator Vigar is all over the map, making giant plays. And when normally you would sort of identify that as a Vex, right? Vex is looking for these rune plays. Vex is looking for the burst, but the Vigar is sort of filling that role. We see in the first spot lane team fight, the Nocturne taking the lethal tempo, which is sort of a greedier rune, more of a team fighty bruisery rune, right? So he's not going for this assassin style playstyle. He is going to take those extended fights, and it didn't look like Virtue was expecting the Nocturne to just wail on them with that stacked up lethal tempo. So
well, first Drake will drop. Virtue will pick that one up, and they're getting some turret plates on the top side as well. Biogamer's going to have to defend this as Shen's still coming back from that recall. They already knocked down one turret plate in the mid lane as well, but I think, you know, Vex isn't able to roam as much, and obviously she's kind of known as like a roaming champion as well. But she just got set so far behind. She got trapped by 2 Vigar cages, so that's, you know, 2 kills, and now Vigar's got, you know, Lost Chapter boots. He's working his way to his first item, and he's in a very good spot, especially compared to where this Vex is.
Yeah, and even the lane that doesn't look as good if you look statistically, but it looks like another bot lane play
here. We go. Oh, the good route onto Lokidosi, but Blue just gets melted, gets a heal off or something. Somehow got a lot of health and got the kill there, but both Fluox. Oh, Fluox pops the stopwatch. He's got the ult up, but I don't think it's going to be a lot of damage. Oh,
there's a lot of damage.
Enough. Going to try to pick up Captor, won't do enough, and Leona will pick up the final kill.
Yeah, and they sort of, at that point, they don't have summoners to get away. They're flanked. They have a lot of engaged to chase them down, so it makes sense for Blue and Flux to go for that play, try to finish off some kills. The Severum Moonlight Vigil coming out to heal him for that 400 health burst that you weren't expecting, right? Another kill into the top lane, though. It didn't look like it was going to happen, but the Knight's able to finish it off.
Yone doesn't actually, the ult doesn't go through, and now they're looking for an angle into Vigar, and Vigar will pop the cage, will get the stun and the root onto Value and do a little bit of damage, but not too much coming out. So that looked like it could be deadly, but not too much comes from it. As I think Biogamer being able to set up that first dive was really like dissuading to any, you know, counterattack that Chapinho was able to put in.
Yeah, and just really just a lot more work getting done. I mean, even though Biogamer has 3 kills, has gotten a lot done with his ultimates, it seems like Capture's getting more done. Maybe this Lilia is higher priority than we think, than I personally thought.
Yeah. No, Lilia's been everywhere.
And she's here again.
And Mukub's in a lot of danger, although a lot of damage coming out as well. The sleep will come through, and Mukub's now in a 1v4, so they were able to draw 4 up to deal with him. But, I mean,
trading plates.
What can you find out on the opposite side of the map? Obviously, Blue and Fluox going to try to push this turret in. Only Jin there to defend it, and Value's going to be able to get this turret plate in the mid as well.
So that's worth. We take that. You trade 2 plates for 1 kill, that's worth.
I think so, yeah. And now that will miss from Vigar. It would look a little dangerous. Obviously, those cages are going to be lethal from now, and if you get trapped in one of those, you're probably just screwed.
I mean, a stray Q and a W is enough for damage here.
Yep, and they will be able to knock down 3 plates total in the bot lane. Hawkster's coming up now. Cleanse not up from a Feathers, but does have Flash. And now Value in a bad spot has to flash away from the Yone. Yone will dive, gets feared, but ends up recalling, or
San United able to defend him, and the Ignite ticks
gosh.
down.
This Yone is getting destroyed. Not even team fights. He seems like he's out, and then just
that's just unlucky. That's not your fault. That's especially as a Yone or a Yasuo player. That's not my fault. That's
flash away from Fluox. Now Lilia rolls her E down. Fluox is going to take a lot of Jin ults here, and now the flash in from Leona will do a lot of damage. Blue in a tricky spot here without a support now. He's going to have to walk under the turret. Flashes away late, and it will be a double kill for Captor, and they will get a lot of turret plates on this as well. Crucial team fight win in the bot side, and they'll pop the Rift Herald as well.
Herald. This is so brutal. Much money. So the one place that was sort of staving off the pressure, right? Even though they were behind, they're up 30 CS in the bottom lane, but now that gold's coming back in. Tons of money from the plates, tons of damage coming out of Capture here. Just this Lilia pick looks stronger than I gave it credit.
Yeah, this Lilia doing a lot of cross-map work, and haven't been able to see as much from Biogamer. He's got the Stridebreaker on the Nocturne now. That was a pretty common build. Haven't seen it in a while, but I think Stridebreaker is starting to come back into the meta. so now Mukub is going to 1v1 this Yone, and right now I still favor Mukub despite what the damage from Yone might be doing.
Yeah, a play under the bot
Oh,
side.
interesting. Gets the flash away. There comes the ultimate. Will be able to kill off Loki, and they will pick up one in the bot lane. And so while the bot lane turret was knocked down, there's still 2 plates up, and there's no one really there to answer it. So looks like Blue and Fluox will be able to shove this wave in.
And that's the kind of play I was expecting, right? This is what I thought the early game would turn to. After you get the level 6 on both of the Biogamer and Hunt for Value, you should be going for these volleys, you should be going for bot dives, but there hasn't really been the time for it. They've been falling behind other places, and now it might be too little too late, because at this point they're down 3,000 gold at 13 minutes. Taking this turret's going to put that gold a little bit back in their favor, but still they're going to be down more than 2,000. It's going to be rough to fight these Dragons team fights, which Virtue's already starts stacking up.
Yeah, there's another stun from the Viger, going to do so much damage, has to die for it, won't end up killing off the Vex. Mukub and Biogamer will force this Yone off for now, but Leona's coming up to help, and I'm not sure they're quite aware of it. Biogamer looks like he's going for the dive, just goes in and has to back out eventually. Flashes away from the Leona ultimate. Now Leona gets the shot onto Mukub, but they're just going to both back away, as I don't think either team believes they can finish off the kills safely enough to go for it.
But importantly, right, they get the mid laner recall, they get the jungler's topside, right, so they get this dragon for free. Now there's 2 stacks in. They're getting closer and closer to this win condition, right?
And
Hextech Soul is a real powerful one, and with the gates to sort of move around, get this Vigar in places he shouldn't be, get this Lilia and the Leona be able to roam next lane.
Yep.
Get a Jhin ultimate in the mid lane.
Cleanse coming out from Blue will get rid of the... Oh my gosh.
Good Stand United to save him. The Ignite stops ticking, so he will be able to live that, but that is scary.
He's still up in this lane. He gets hit with anything, and he's just dead. Loki will find the angle, and he will get that kill. Now Value getting picked off in the side lane as well. That's 2 down from Ohio State. Fluox in a lot of danger here, and that will be a double kill for the Vigar. It's all going wrong for Ohio State. This mid lane turret is sure to fall as 3 dead on the side of OSU.
And that's just greed from a lot of the members. You're down people in the mid lane. Blue just overstays and get picked off by these long-range skill shots. Hunt for Value overextending for a Wraith camp, even though he doesn't have control of the mid lane. And then Flux is just getting caught after 2 of his teammates are dead.
It's an absolutely brutal way to lose that mid lane turret and a lot of gold. It's now a 5k gold lead for the side of Virtue.
Yeah, and when it rains,
15 minutes.
When it rains, it pours. This poor top lane matchup, Shin's like, I'm trying to carry this game. He's 3-1-3. He's been boxing the guy in the top lane, but he keeps having to leave to help his team to save Blue. And he's down CS now. He lost this whole turret. This Yone's probably not far behind in gold. And he's going to become a monster in the team fights, whereas Shin is just sort of draining away as he watches his teammates just slowly lose.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter how far behind you get set as Yone. If you land one good combo and you're at least got some items under your belt late game, you should be doing enough damage. And obviously you have a lot of help with the Vigar, 6-0-3. Now it looks like Nocturne's looking for the dive. We'll be able to find Vigar. This could be a crucial kill. Value's here to pick it up as well. He'll get rooted as well. It looks like Vigar can figure off one. And now the taunt coming in, stopping into the teleport from Ginger. And so just ends up being a 1-for-1. It looks like, I think Nocturne ended up getting that shut down onto Chaptia. But
that's just disgusting damage.
Taunt from the Shen will pick up another kill onto the Yone, and at least Shen's keeping himself ahead of the curve. He's trying to get this objective down.
He's doing his best. He's putting his team on in his backpack. He's trying to carry. He's trying to get solo kills top lane and then roam down and help them stop losing bot side. But I don't know if Shen can do enough, right? He's got a lot of his team's gold, and I don't think he's going to be able to have that impact as this character, but maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
Teleport coming to defend top turret.
Yeah, and Leona's up here too, so Mukub's going to have to guarantee himself to back away. Leona not going to go through that Hextech gate, as that's a pretty risky one to go through. And so we'll just see, teams start to farm up. It's only 4k gold lead, so Ohio State's starting to slow the bleeding. Obviously, that pick onto Vigar absolutely crucial in getting themselves back into this game.
And I think that's what they're going to have to lean into. They're going to have to keep finding these picks, because right now, versus this Vigar that's one-shotting people 1v2 against this Yone who's scaled up at CS, this 150 CS, 4-kill, 350 gold bounty Lilia, you don't want a team fight versus a fully stacked Darksteel.
No, you really don't.
It's hard to really find the positioning to make that fight work. So what they're going to have to do, they're going to have to keep looking for picks, find people in the side lanes. If that's really the only way they can sort of crawl gold back in.
Here comes Value getting a little bit of damage onto Ginger. Not going to do too much to follow it up. And Ginger looks like he's calling for help, but it doesn't look like there's going to be much as Captor's pivoting over towards the Rift Herald. And I'm not really sure Ohio State has much they can answer it with.
Yeah, I mean, Virtue right now can just run side to side looking for a plan in
Angle
mid
onto
lane.
Jin. Forces the flash. Biogamer goes
Jhin.
in, and there's the Shen as well. Gets the taunt, finds Jin. That's what you got to keep doing.
They're overextended.
Now, looks like a very dangerous spot as Captain's going in for some damage. Hawkster's probably going to fall here, but not before Biogamer does. Hawkster clocks. Oh my gosh, Biogamer showed up and he's doing so much damage. Blue trying to put in as much damage as he can, but won't be able to do enough. Hawkster's still alive through all this, and Yone putting down some CC. There's a good Vigar cage again to be able to pick off Mukub. I think they'll be able to do enough damage. Mukub trying to kill off Captor instead. Won't be able to. Value's the last one alive for Ohio State, and he's probably not long for this world as Captor's
Got a
looking
fear
for blood.
charged.
Oh, got the
it.
fear. Oh, so much damage. Not able to follow it up, though, so he will save his own life with that.
Yeah,
But
he's scared there of
for nothing.
scared of number 2 Ginger continuing the chase down there. Can't commit backwards to finish off that Lilia. Does not have the vision for it, but even when they get something, right, they use their submarine comp, this Nocturne Shin combo that they've been trying to build towards and get picks with. They have to commit so far to finish a Jin with all his summoner spells and the Gale Force available that they're underneath the turret, right? There's time for people to flank back and finish off this fight, and they're going to keep trying to stack the soul. A steal would be very important.
Looks
here.
like he has the ultimate, so it's not out of the
Has
question
the flash
here.
too.
They're all set up here. Drake getting really low, goes for the steal, won't quite find it. He will probably fall for this, and it looks like he's not going to have any help, which I would recommend. You go for the steal, you hope you get it, and unfortunately you can't delay Soul by 5 minutes, as in 4 minutes 50 seconds here, and Virtue will be on a very strong position to get this Soul point.
Yeah, and these Ohio State plays, they look rough, right? They feel bad because they don't look good, but it's the only thing that they can do right now. They have to keep going for stuff. Slowing down that Soul would have been very, very good for Biogamer. It also gives them the objective bounty, right? If they get that 600 extra gold pumped into their pockets, it would help out a lot. But they keep having to going for these risky plays, these low odds plays, because they're so far behind right now. But Mukub's not far behind.
No, Mukub knows he's got the advantage in the 1v1, and so he's going to force Yone off this wave. Now, the fortunate thing, I think, for Ohio State is the Baron was not up yet when that Drake fell, because if he was, you can be sure they're turning their eyes towards Baron.
Bounty, but the Yone's got the flank.
Ginger looking, goes in, gets fleeing immediately, gets deleted by Fluox, and the Shen ult's going to come in as well. And so now it's 4v5, Vigar, Predator looking to set up. Fluox trapped in the cage, flashes out of it, not before a lot of damage comes down, though. Still pretty even, and looks like they're going to have to body block for Fluox as the Jhin ult comes through. Will be able to do so, and Nocturne still a bit far off on the angle. Lilia and Vi are pushing up towards forwards, but it looks like we're just going to back away, as Fluox being low means they're not going to look for another engage.
Yeah, and the Fate Sealed coming out from the Yone, it looks very silly when you miss it because it's such a long animation. You're just getting wailed on for a full 1.5 seconds by the Aphelios and the Vex, so unable to land that skill shot, but if they made that flank work, it would have been Baron, it would have been big, so it's definitely a play worth going for as number 2 Ginger there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he was pretty much caught out. He does elect to go back in for that, and so interesting pick. They have the gold lead and the resources to go ahead for it.
Yeah, Virtue basically they could do whatever they want. I think they could go for this Baron play and win it pretty solidly, right? They could take the Baron and then go for the play. They also could just wait 3 minutes, get the dragon, get the soul on basically a guaranteed play, and even if you don't get the dragon, you get a pick on the jungle, which converts very nicely into Baron. So waiting here is good. Looking for a bit of an angle with the Predator.
Yeah, I would never test a Nocturne diving in for that Smite Steal whenever he turns off the lights and no one can see. Now Shen actually in a decent spot to get this Yone, and if he can finish him off before the rest of the team arrives, then that'd be crucial, but I'm not sure he's going to get the chance to. No, he elects to back off. A little bit, trading. We're probably just waiting for, a pick to happen or this next Drake. And here comes the pick attempt. The Vex ult will land as well. Vigar will pop the stopwatch, and there comes the ultimate. They get the Vigar. Loki's in a bad spot. Reset. Yeah, he's took one up again. Now Ginger peeing in, whiffs the ultimate, but he probably will fall here. Still not too bad from Ohio State. It is, I think, a 2 for 2, but popping the Vigar is so crucial there.
They're pinging onto the Baron, but I don't think they have the opportunity.
I don't think you can.
Very hard.
Yeah, that'd
2 for 2
very
with
risky.
shutdowns. That's worth it. That's good. That's a
Yes,
good play.
absolutely.
They found some gold back in their pockets. That's powerful. But the gold lead is still 5,000. This soul is still coming, and it's inevitable, right? Like, they are just going to wait. Oh, they're looking to start it.
They're hitting it a couple times.
Certainly that's not... Okay,
it feels risky. I wouldn't recommend just flipping Baron, especially when you're up by this much and you've got a Soul on your side, because if you all die now, there's he's going to have a big setup for Soul. Now Blue looks like he's in a tough spot. Flash in from Leona. Good move away from Blue, but it does draw out the Shen ultimate. So that will be down for at least a short amount of time, and it looks like Captor immediately going to run to the Baron right after that.
They're looking for the Baron. This is risky. I think they could definitely just wait the extra minute and go for it, but I mean, they might see this Nocturne bot side. They summon the barrel to get some pressure off, and this is pretty slow. The Yone speeds it up a bit, but you got a Jin, right? Yeah. Mukub sees this.
Shen's looking for something here, but won't be able to find it.
They get a Nocturne ult in. This play's really scary.
Yeah, they have to back off at this point. Looks like ultimate will be popped from Shen, targeting the Aphelios, and their Viger gets popped again. Pops stopwatch, and that just lets Ohio State get them. Triple root, double taunt. Shen doing so much work with the CC, and Swain also following up, and now it looks like Hawkster will die as well. Ginger will fall on the backside. That's a 4 for nothing. And that's so crucial for Ohio State. That puts them right back in this game.
They want to go take the Baron, but they can't, right? They have to be able to threaten the Dragon spawning soon. They can't give that soul over. Lilia's still on the map. She could solo it down. So they're not able to commit to that objective. But that's 3,500 gold they just picked up from bounties, from the objective bounty. They're only down 2K now. That was a massive throw for Virtue, an overstint onto the Baron Nashor play. And the Dragon's up in 5 seconds. They want to keep contesting. They want to get back in there. And I don't think they're going to be able to get through.
I mean, the Dragon still gives you an objective bounty. They're still going to get a lot of gold from this, so long as Captor doesn't go for a miracle steal. He is able to land in E onto Biogamber. Obviously, that's too risky to follow up. And so, obviously, with that, objective bounty is going to fall off pretty much instantly.
Yeah, I mean, that fight came from a fantastic never move coming out of the Swain, right? Thresh can't do that, right? Fantastic play coming out of Flex to make that team fight happen when it really didn't seem like it could. They got the early pick off of Chapania, right? The Vigar falling down. Just able to find basically a miracle fight, an overextend on the Nash, and then with the lowered resistances from taking that Nash debuff, it's incredible to me that they found it, and they have basically a 5-minute reprieve now to sort of not be threatened by that soul. Yeah,
this honestly puts them right back in the game. And one thing I'm noticing is Vigar is starting to get picked off more and more. I'm not sure he got a single kill in between his last 2 deaths. And he's popping that stopwatch relatively early. Biogamer's going to steal that scuttle away from Captor. Just, you know, little smite there.
That scuttle's important. That's a lot of free vision that can't be cleared, right? So this Baron's harder for them to force. And now they're probably feeling a lot of pressure, right? They felt like they were so far ahead, right? There was no way for them to lose. But now that they're overextending a bit.
Oh, Nocturne's probably dead here. We'll get Shen ulted. Now the ult pop. They can't see anything. Shen's going to come in. Aphelios whiffs the ultimate. Double drowsy. It looks like Swain and Nocturne will fall asleep. And there goes Fluox. He will end up falling. Jin will pop the ultimate as well. And we unfortunately won't get to see where he's shooting, but we will see him shooting the arrows. Doesn't pick up a kill. 1 for 0. Not sure. Oh, well, if Biogamer's this low, then you do throw it towards Baron, and Yone's already starting it. And Biogamer in a really tough spot as you can't go for this when you're this low. Yeah, and I think they will burn this down pretty quickly.
That's just a misstep from Ohio State. They just got this this scuttle vision we were talking about, uncontestable, right?
Yeah.
They could see that they weren't on it, so I don't know why Biogamer's face checking in there, getting picked off by the cage.
Up in not the best of spots. Red team will pick up the Baron Nashor, so huge for Virtue. Triple fleeing won't end up being much. Looks like Mukub will take a lot of damage here, and he's going to get hit in the Vigar cage, and so Mukub will fall as well. A lot of low health bars on the side of Virtue, so they won't be able to follow up too much. But picking up that bear is going to be crucial in securing where they were in this game state.
Yeah, they definitely sort of grabbed the game back there from a place that was looking a little bit more iffy. They now look solid once again. We see the Rabadon's on cooldown there from the Vigar. We see but big completed items being completed, including a Magi's with 24 pages in that book.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah, so this Lilia is going to be dealing massive damage to the Yone, able to finish the Infinity Edge, so he'll be, even him, in falling from 1 and 7, right, not the strongest character on this team, will still be putting out massive damage, so this Dragon fight's going to be very hard. Fluxatine overextending, looking for wards.
Not a great spot, but Biogamer's going in onto the Vigar, forces the stopwatch again. Fluox and Blue are here. They can get the damage out in time, flash away from Champia. Will did so much work done. It's a double kill. Champion's still alive. Root onto Blue from Hawkster, but no one there to follow up as everyone's pretty low. Finally, they are able to kill off Hawkster.
Teleporting back out towards mid.
And yeah,
They're looking
interesting.
to push.
Vygar, they got the Baron buff. They're looking for the angle. Predator taunt onto the Champagnon fan. Puts down the cage, but it's not going to do too much. Does the damage now. Vygar gets dropped by Shen. Now Capture's in a bad spot in the 1v1 with Hunt for Value. But, I mean, Ginger and Loki are popping down this mid turret, looking for, you know, at least some damage here. Yeah, and it's a 2v3 on the map.
And Virtue's going for really aggressive plays that I don't really support, right? They have the scaling, they have the soul sort of locking up the game in a minute, right? They don't need to be teleporting, but they're going to use turrets. And Mukub does a great job taking advantage of that. Gets the kill back on the Vygar. I'd like to touch on how we talked about the Ignite, right? That kill pressure early game.
Yes.
Shin has a Demonic Embrace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going for some damage.
He hurt that Vygar. I wasn't expecting Vygar to die. I expected him to waddle around a little bit, probably take a tower shot or two and get out of there. But the Demonic Brace Ignite, burning the Shin down.
Yep.
The Vygar didn't expect it either, so an interesting Shin build, probably allowing him to keep some of the side lane pressure we've seen. Every time he battles this Yone, he's able to sort of beat him down, and this is probably one of the reasons why.
Yep. That E is going to hit onto blue. It's not going to end up resulting in much. But obviously we have the soul point for Virtue up in 30 seconds. And they are setting up in mid and bot. Ginger coming down here. But, I mean, Hunt for Value is camping in this bush along with one other, looking to
If Ginger gets picked right here, it's really important, right? This is the soul. He's going out far, and there's a lot of damage behind the sphere. Oh, he's face checking. That's so scary.
Oh, no, he doesn't land it.
His team's behind him now.
Here comes
now they're overextended.
Flash away, and Biogamer will turn off the lights, but Fluox gets deleted. Doesn't look like they're going to commit for the fight. Biogamer just probably going to have to come for some sort of miracle steal. He does have flash up, and this is definitely worth it for just trading your life.
Certainly they won't have vision, right? They don't have the support anymore to drop those wards in the pit. They double blue trinketed. That's really unfortunate. That sustained vision. Yeah. He's getting CC'd over the wall.
Biogamer.
Can he get in there? He's in.
Biogamer flashes in. Ends up not getting it as Jin ends up securing the Drake, actually. And now the Jin will open up, pops the ultimate, finding Pump for Value, will end up popping. That's the ace, 5 for 0. And you have to think that's the start of the end.
Yeah, with the soul up, it's really hard to see an angle back for Ohio State into this game. They probably knocked out an inhibitor here, and the Baron Nashor is going to be soon to follow. It's tough. They went for some heroics. They brought this game back from a place where I thought it already was gone.
Leona does not care about this tower. They are hunting down this Swain. Swain's forced underneath his tier 3 on the left side.
If they overextend for an end, it might be a play. There might be something here.
I don't know. It's still 5 seconds, and they're tearing through these turrets. It's going to take a lot from Swain. But, I mean, Nocturne's up now.
Here.
Lights go off, going in. Trying to do as much damage as possible. Swain as well. They are able to end in time. Virtue will take the series 2-1. And it could have gotten dicey at the end there, but they're able to close it out just in time. Virtue take the series 2-1 over Ohio State.
And that was a very confident plays right at the end, right? They make the call. They can end. They know they can end. If they're not full hitting there, if somebody hesitated, they don't get that in. People respawn, and maybe some bounties. Maybe the Baron goes to Ohio State. So good confidence to make that call, finish the game, close it out. Because when they didn't close it earlier, like when they took some plays, it looked like Ohio State almost got back in. So great job from Virtue there. Great series to watch. It was fun to see a game without Jinx deciding it in Champ Select.
Absolutely, yeah. Pretty interesting game 3. Obviously, we talked about the draft being not too usual. The Vygar kind of ran over the early game, and I think, you know, from there, obviously there were a few blunders here and there along the way, but they were able to close it out.
You saw the Predator Vygar. You gave me a look while we were casting the game, and you were surprised. But I've scrimmed against this character. It is so annoying to watch this little man waddle around, drop the cage, ruin my bottom lane, ruin obviously Ohio State's bottom lane here. So a lot of pressure coming out. I would probably say the Vygar was the MVP of that match.
Absolutely. He walked up menacingly multiple times, just finishing off the bot lane. I mean, Blue got set behind so far in the early game and just wasn't really able to come back. And while they did find some mid angles, Mukub did a great job, and I think he started building damage, knowing, like, you know, he's doing so much damage to this Yone. He was getting fed, getting, you know, into a good spot. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough, and they lose the team fight around Soul. And that was, you know, the finish.
And you know what? It was a good series. It was fun to watch, but that will be our show for tonight. We will be back Saturday at 4 p.m. for CLOL. And with that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.